Good evening and welcome to this meeting of the Norfolk Board of Selectmen. It is Tuesday, April 18th, 2017, approximately 7 o'clock p.m. We're meeting here in room 124 in Town Hall. Just a reminder that this meeting is being audio and videotaped consistent with the open meeting laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and will be rebroadcast on NCTV's government channel and uploaded online to YouTube. My name is Jeff Palumbo, Chairman. Joining me this evening is Scott Bugby and Jim Lehan, fellow selectmen, and our town administrator, Jack Hathaway. As is customary for our meetings in room 124, would you please join me in a pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our first item of business this evening. Hello, Mr. McGee. Our first item of business this evening is a Class 2 license application for Speedmaster Motor Cars, LLC. So, I guess, Mr. Hathaway, perhaps you want to lead that discussion?
I can, although I was expecting the applicant to be here, so I think you have an application in your packet. I guess I would recommend tabling that discussion until the applicant gets here.
Fair enough.
Unless he
Okay.
can come a little later.
Yeah, and I apologize if, maybe there was a miscommunication. Marion put him on the agenda at 7 p.m., so I assumed he was confirmed, but maybe, I don't want to,
Okay.
maybe he wasn't confirmed. I didn't realize that.
Without objection, we'll postpone that particular business for this evening. With that, I get to turn it back over to you for the town administrator report.
All right, yeah, if, Bob, are you expecting anybody else, or are you doing the show all by yourself? No, Bob. You, Bob.
Yeah, the Bob McGee.
Bob, right? Are you waiting for any of your guys, Bob?
Not me, no.
No.
I'm still talking over that.
Told you I was that.
What?
You want to come join us, Bob?
Sure.
Bob, you've been hanging around that asphalt too
Well, Jack,
long,
what about
buddy. I
the-
don't know.
Bob, that's Kevin back there, just for future reference. He's not Bob.
Jack, what about the, I didn't sign any warrants today. Someone signed warrants because it said the following warrants have been signed, colon.
No, we cut those out because I should have deleted that whole line because we'll just report those next week.
Who signed warrants tonight?
Jim did.
I signed him tonight for you.
Okay.
Here,
So we'll have-
you get to play with that.
So obviously, I'm at a huge disadvantage when Marion isn't here.
Yeah.
So are we.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apologize for that.
So, Mr. McGee, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
So since he's here, Bob and I have had some discussions about capital and roads and very brief conversation. So as you probably have heard in our discussions and then probably at the advisory board as well, I think we're putting off the majority of capital until the fall when we have our free cash certified. We received 267,000 or some 257, I think, of prison mitigation funds. But we can't spend that until it goes through the free cash certification process. So the thought was, especially with the KP budget being in such flux at the time, we thought we would just push capital off until the fall and be able to concentrate that on, put our full focus on that. Having said that, Bob and the DPW, and not just Bob, but the DPW has been, for lack of a better word, shortchanged in recent years for capital. And he's got a number of trucks, as we talked about when we met with the three towns, Rentham and Plainville, kind of all in the same boat. And somebody from Plainville said it quite well, is that they have some trucks that are older than their college-age kids, and most of them have stop signs welded to the bottom of them so that that's the floorboards. And I know we have some trucks like that, not all of them, but we certainly have some trucks that are 1980s vintage, if not older. So I've been pushing to have Bob give us an abbreviated list of capital items, and so that's what he's here for. And also, Jim and I had a conversation earlier today about free cash. We have I just looked it up, $944,000 in free cash, of which we're going to use $300,000 to support the operating budget. So the thought is we'll have some funds available to make a decision with, and obviously save it is one option, and I'm always in favor of saving it, but we also have the roads are in such condition that wouldn't be bad to have a conversation about can we put that money to good use on the roads as well. So, Bob, having rambled on about all that, turn it over to you.
Oh, I have a capital list here. It's, like Jack said, somewhat abbreviated. If you were to see the whole list, it'd be 5 pages. But we understand and we're thankful for the equipment that we have, and we do the best that we can with it. But, you know, I'd like to pass this out if you don't have it already. And I see Jim's got one.
I still do.
This is somewhat in priority order. If, like I said, it's in somewhat priority order, but this list could change next week. It changed today.
You know, Bob, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I know I can appreciate the fact that your crew over the years, I think, has done a pretty darn good job keeping some of these older vehicles in service, and I know it's come up at prior meetings, perhaps even going back to before I was on the Board of Selectmen, that you've got that kind of talent. But you can only go so far, right? I mean, you
Right.
can do that for only so long, but, so sorry to interrupt.
No, that's all right, and appreciate it. You know, we do have quite a bit of talent in the workforce, proud to say. So, you know, if we can't have the thousands over thousands and $1 million to, buy the capital that we need, then we need the equipment to do the work with what we do have. So what you're looking at here, Jeff, is it's a column on the left-hand side that says, when we first, I keep log of, when we first asked for things. So you can see that was the first truck here. Well, first of all, we were talking to, Jack was talking to us, and he, through conversations, felt that we were probably pushed to get a large construction truck, which comes at a cost of about $160-something thousand. There's a price in here for them. And, we can get one large, sometimes it's easier to work backwards. How much money do you have? And I'll tell you what we can get for it, kind of thing. But, I mean, if that is any idea of what kind of money the town can come up with for capital, then maybe we should look at that price and see if we can't get 6 other things and fit it in there. So there's 2 ways of thinking. We have a truck that we'd like to replace as 1990. That's when I first started Public Works. That's 27 years ago, and it's been retrofitted. I don't know if it's got a truck body of another truck that we've had in the past, so it's kind of been modified.
Is that the F-350 you're talking about, the G4?
No, it isn't. It's the large construction dump. It would be number 18 in here. If you look down here, it's either H17 or H18.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see that it's H17. Mm-hmm. The cost of that brand new was $168,000. That's one truck. That would be very much appreciated. It's an incredible truck to have for the winter months, and if we've got construction going on in the streets, that we can load that truck and, pick up materials. But we also have 5 other ones just like it. They're all in different shapes, and you have given us some trucks in the past couple of years. So for one truck, if we were to just say we can continue working our snow plowing operations without that one truck for the same kind of money, what else could we ship up front and get maybe 6 different things? So the G4 is a 1980s something model, which is a truck that we use 12 months out of the year, heavily 10 months out of the year through the construction season. So it's a dump body truck. It's a small, we call them like 1 tons. So, so we put that up there, and you can see the price of that's $82,000. 6 years ago, I think we could have got it for like $52,000, but trucks have moved up, and we're trying to get the better bodies and things like that. We find that they last longer. Instead of getting a steel body that rots away in 5 years, the truck's good, but the body's gone, so we get an aluminum type body. Saves on gas, doesn't rot, stays with us. Moving down the list, there's just a few other things. A concrete compactor slab. It's not equipment, but it's, and right below that is the same thing, but it's a recycling container slab. So we have at the transfer station containers that we pick up with a roll-off truck, and as you put it up in the air, all that weight shifts to the back, and it rolls up on these steel wheels. And these things are, over the years, have come up and off from asphalt, and the asphalt wears through, so we're always patching it, and then we get down to gravel, and then we always, take the gravel out, put more asphalt in. And somewhere along the way, we're going to need asphalt at the transfer station and the Public Works parking lot. It's gone. I mean, in the parking lot at the Public Works, it's down to, it's gravel. It's black. It looks like asphalt, but it's because it's kept together. So, anyways, if we're going to put that asphalt down, you need to put the concrete slabs down first. So you want to asphalt up to the concrete. And if it's something that we can't get this year or the next 2 years, at least we'll get this much done, and we can just asphalt up a little pad around it. I hope I'm explaining this.
Yeah, no, I was thinking we've put some slabs down the last couple of years for where where one of the compactors was, right? And maybe the
We
shed.
put one down, and we just replaced the corner of another that was broken off and just withered away.
But these are new ones, or are these replacements?
These would be new ones.
How many, Bob?
Just one each. One of them's
Okay, so there's two
rather-
here. One is called a compactor slab, the other one's a recycle slab?
Right.
Okay.
Are they both in the transfer station area or in the
Both
DPW?
inside the transfer station. I really went off from equipment to, project
Well, whatever
request.
works for you. that's fine.
But if you look over to the right, you can see one's 8,000, one's 12,000, so that's why I threw them up front to see if we could,
Well, one started at 8,500, but it went up to 10,000. Is that because the current cost has changed?
Right. So back,
Back in 14, it was 8,500.
right.
How come
I
the
do
other one
believe
didn't change
so.
that?
Actually, I could expand this to show you all the years and all the price, how they moved or stayed flat. But one of these slabs are bigger than the other as well.
So aside from the actual concrete, do we do the site work and such?
No, that would be having somebody else come in and just form it up and pour the concrete. It's mostly materials in this.
Yeah.
We'll prep the site, and, a form guy will come in and form up 2x6s, and we'll buy steel, put it in there, and compact the ground, and he'll pour, 6 to 8 inches of, probably 8 inches of concrete if it isn't a 2x6 for form. Anyways, that's all. There's nothing glorious about this. It's just
no,
something that's
just-
practical. It's something that we need, and,
Hey,
know.
Bob,
yeah.
so your listing of your top six, if we were to say, we've got $200,000 that we can devote to DPW for capital.
Right.
I mean, what I'm hearing you saying is that those top six, which is about 128K, and if you're gonna start that process down, and you're right, the transfer station area is a mess. I mean, there was a Volkswagen stuck in one of the potholes the other day. It would make sense to do the parking lot pavement at the same
If
time.
you said you had two and you subtract that from
Well,
128, you're right.
128.65 is 193, so.
Very logical.
Wouldn't that be a logical marriage, if you're gonna do one piece to do the whole thing?
And what I was thinking, if you even said that to me, was that maybe we could combine a little Chapter 90 money and do Medway Branch from Tucker Road down. I can install that sidewalk.
And you could do a piece of that with the water money, couldn't you?
We could. We
Yeah,
have a little bit, not too much.
But a piece of it, where you put the main in,
right.
you could do a piece of that with the water
So
money.
when you come down Medway Branch, which was all repaved a few years ago, it would continue to be paved. From Tucker Road, it would be brand new, all the way to the transfer station. Transfer station be new, and the DPW parking lot would be new.
Yeah, and then in the fall, when we get, we've received the check, it just hasn't been certified, so we've got $257 in prison mitigation money. If we bought the big truck, which is 168, and we bought a police car, so that, which would be another, I think they're what, 49.50 in that range? 50 grand, that would still leave us 40 for other capital items for other departments, Cole or whoever might need something. That might be a good way to, because I know how desperate that need is. That,
Well, you're
that to me would be a good combination of how to use this short-term based on your priorities. Does that make sense to you?
It does. And, you know, like I said, I could sit here and give you an argument for something else that we could do too, but you
Well, but
just,
is that the argument you want?
today it is.
So let me make sure I understand. In that scenario,
Yes, it
we would
is.
go ahead now, after town meeting,
Mm-hmm.
with the 6 items here plus the paving that you just described.
Which is really bad. It's really bad in there.
And then, come the fall, assuming that everything works out the way we anticipate in terms of mitigation funds.
Well, we,
and
no,
stuff.
we have the check. We
So
have the
it's-
money.
so
It's
that-
in the bank.
yeah. So then we would be able to prioritize and move ahead with some of the additional items at that time? Is that what you're proposing? Move ahead with,
Knowing, what I would propose, and it's premature to a certain degree, but I would propose those top 6 items, the parking lot, and then in the fall with the 257.
Yeah, right.
I know Chuck needs a new squad car, or police car, whatever the right term is, and that truck is desperate. And you don't always have the opportunity to spend 168 grand, but it's a desperate need for you guys.
because you wouldn't have it for
And that would
winter,
still leave us,
right?
of the prison mitigation money, that would still leave us about $40,000. If we gave another $200,000 to the road program, that still leaves us $200,000 in free cash from this calendar year, and we get free certification again in October. We're gonna be in pretty good shape, and we don't have to touch any reserves.
He wouldn't have that truck for the plowing
No,
season
he'd miss
next
the
year.
season.
The
No,
thing
the
with that
the
is,
current ones are still running. I mean, it's just
right,
Paul's gluing them together.
Can you
some of the
bel-
trucks are in really wonderful shape, and,
Can we
you
order
know,
it and pay for it? I mean, can we?
No, you can't order it without an appropriation.
They make you pay for that.
No, not, they don't make
It's
you
a
pay for it,
terrible
they make you
system.
appropriate the money, right? We don't technically have to
Terrible
pay for it, we just have to appropriate it.
Bob, just so you know, I put up, just so you're not surprised, on the screen behind you, I put the transfer station up on the, just to show the cracking parking lot and.
well, it was that.
No, it's more than cracks, it's holes.
Yeah, that's just Google Maps, so it's probably a few years old.
So were we looking at the transfer station and do we have enough money to do the DPW parking lot? Because right below that, is that the 80 plus 65, Jim? Is that total, that still stay within the total?
Well, you were talking about Midway Branch,
Right.
finishing that one up, doing the sidewalks,
Well, I was
completing
thinking
Midway
Midway
Branch.
Branch with chapter 90.
Right, so you're
So
combining the
combined
two
with-
projects.
Yeah, and if you can't do the transfer station is probably more important. The DPW parking lot's in worse shape, but the transfer station is used by the public.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you could
So if the
live with that.
right, if the
Yeah.
DPW parking lot turned into gravel would be okay, you know, we still plow and stuff. Every once in a while, we want to invest in ourselves too, you know, it's just,
Or do we have,
And-
no, I
and
didn't
you-
do all
you
that.
Well, I get employees walking across, you
Oh, no,
know,
they
Yeah.
can twist an ankle.
pretty crappy parking lots. and-
What's the balance of the chapter 90 funds, Bob, do you know?
I have it, we have uncommitted funds, about $195,000.
And then the new money's
With the
about
new
close
monies
to
coming
4?
in. Right. The 10-year contract that we had with the state, Chapter 90, I think ends this year or ended last year. They don't expect any changes, so it's like 392 or something like that,
Okay,
that we'll be getting in addition.
that's close to 4, yeah. So you got 580 roughly in the bank.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've,
587, yep.
you know, we didn't talk Chapter 9, but there's some, I've got ideas for what we can do with that, but I wanted to get everybody talking about
So
that.
how much of that chapter 90 would Midway Branch eat up?
I don't know if I have that itemized. I might.
I didn't bring my chapter 90 book either, so don't feel bad.
You don't have it memorized? Come on, Jay, you're slipping.
Medway Branch, that's 1,600 feet.
Slipping.
Medway Branch would be about $182,000 with sidewalks. That would drastically change that street. You wouldn't recognize it
What
when I'm
percentage
done.
of that could you use from the water resources?
I think that there's still a balance in that, some of the capital funding there, that was partially, that was a betterment with a little
Right.
bit of our money in there. I don't know if we got $12,000 or something like
Not a
that.
lot, then.
So what do
To
you
do the
think? There's-
sidewalks.
There's money left in a capital account for?
Yeah. At least last time I looked.
I think I
wasn't a
can
lot.
tell you, it wouldn't be Bush Pond and stuff, $3,600. Midway Branch Road, another $2,800, so, you know, there's a,
Not a lot.
right. Still in water, there's, Route
thing
115
to
has a
pick up.
balance, but
The drone.
that's 12,000 for that from
So-
that project.
Would you want, you wouldn't want to eat up the 180 grand of your chapter 90 money on Woodbury Branch, would you?
No, I said 80 grand though.
80 grand. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Oh,
I thought you
Didn't I?
said 180.
I thought you said 182.
180, yeah.
I heard 180.
I hope I didn't say that.
Well,
Let me just take
Said whatever Jim thinks.
It's okay, as long as we get it right.
It's 100,000.
100 grand.
180, that would
And that includes the sidewalks.
Yes, it does include the sidewalks. I'm just trying to find out where I get that from.
Well, it would,
Can we get like a
You
donation?
you
from
could,
the
you could
council?
probably save a few bucks if you did the
$1,000.
project
Donation from the council on
collectively.
aging,
Wouldn't you
help
save a
with
few
the
bucks
sidewalk?
if you did them together?
Yep.
Yeah. So that would leave you 490, and if we put another 200 on that, so,
You're taking notes, right?
huh?
Just making sure you're taking notes, you're the clerk.
I'm taking notes.
Oh, you'll never be able to read mine. I don't, you guys chip in, that would make sense to me, knowing
Yeah.
your priorities, that,
Yeah, and you know how that works. If, we don't spend, goes back to chapter 90, so.
So we had 195 plus 392 is 587 minus about $100,000 for Medway Branch,
Mhm.
if I understood correctly.
82,000 for Medway Branch.
Is 82,000.
Mhm.
Oh, net, the net
Yeah.
is 82. Okay. Okay.
you throw another 200,000 in from free cash, you've got close to $700,000 to work on your roads. Which isn't
Yeah,
enough. I know
almost
your
exactly.
estimate, if I remember, was about 2.2 million,
Yeah.
but that's a good dent.
It is. It's real helpful. Right now, I'm looking forward to doing something on Route 115, North Street, from Needham Street to the center of town.
What's the state doing on the north side of 115? They've been surveying.
I don't know that that has anything to do with us, or unless it's River's Edge. I don't know. Unless,
I've seen them out surveying. Are they thinking of,
I think they're just pulling points for private land, but I don't know. I'm not sure, because
You've seen the county truck, is that what you said? Or the state truck?
no, they were state. They were surveying, not last week, but the week before. They were out on 115.
well, the power lines, I don't know if that has anything to do with it.
I was just
With-
curious.
Yeah.
It's unusual to see them out there, and it's a state highway, so I thought maybe they were talking about doing the north side of 115 that I hadn't heard anything.
Right,
If you haven't heard anything, they're
No.
not planning on doing
at
it.
all.
Well, that bridge was just recently redone, right? 5 years ago.
They were surveying Grove, too. Somebody was surveying Grove. Was that you guys? The
Nope.
county?
Not us. No. No idea what you're talking about. Didn't see anybody out there. Nobody said anything.
Got me. Might have been for property.
Yeah, this could be the year for Grove
Yeah,
Street,
it
too.
could have been
We
for
gotta-
property as opposed to roads. What do you guys think? I mean, that,
Makes sense to me.
it's not often we have the opportunity to, I mean, you've been short many years. And it's not often we get a chance to invest in the roads as much as we can this year.
So if in fact that's the number, the 700 for roads, do you have like the wish list in terms of which roads or?
Yeah, I printed some stuff out. I don't know, I can pass it out to you if you want to take a peek at it. I don't know if that disturbs all your thinking there. There's a,
Nothing disturbs our thinking about,
Yeah.
except ourselves.
Yeah, right.
Just thinking disturbs me.
I'll take a peek at this. I play with these things and I
You get the good one back. Thank you, sir.
pass that on, Scott. This is something that I did last year that I'm just starting to work on again,
Is it
because
just one sheet?
now that the snow stopped, I can really take a peek at the roads. Anything during the winter is just a guess.
There's a couple here, one for Jack.
Thank you.
Once you're looking at this, you see there's kind of in bold, the top streets that I have there, Route 115, North Street, Union, Diamond. Those are something I've preached for some years now, that those are kind of like main streets and secondary streets that I'd love to see capital funding funded. And the streets below it are neighborhood streets, and they're kind of grouped, like the Ridgefield section, the you know, like Seneca is off Fruit Street, and then we have Quail Run, those roads that are falling apart. And Chapter 90 could support reconstruction of those streets. But nonetheless, these are, you know, a list that I had from last year that I'm in the process of updating.
So where would your priorities be with that extra 200,000, Bob?
We've made promises to Quail Run for 2 years and never went in there, so
That's 175.
Were you mad at those people or something?
No, I think they were friends of yours, so we didn't do
No,
it.
I'm just kidding. So Quail? So
Yeah.
would you do all the bird roads in there?
well, once I'm in there, Jim, what I've done was, you know, some of the roads needed extensive, entire length, and some of them have salvageable parts to them, so I go to and from. So although you don't see every detail here, you see the lengths,
Yeah.
and you'll see how it goes down. It gets less and less more expensive till I'm down to almost like a permanent patch on a
Yep.
piece of street. So that when I leave that neighborhood, they're in good shape. They're all landscaped, and we don't have to go back for a few years.
So you'd do that whole neighborhood?
If we could,
Quail, pheasant, robin, ridge, fox hill?
yep.
So
Okay.
that's 175. Then where would you go?
Probably, Ridgefield's another one, which is, that's only 50-something thousand, but would be knocking off street after street, and many residents would appreciate the combination of that. But probably worse condition than all of them is the Seneca, Hemlock, those streets that are downhill of Fruit, join up to Noon Hill.
Fruit's a mess, too.
Yeah, there's been some construction up there, so, let it go. We'll keep it together, and
Cleveland's, Cleveland's in,
So Seneca, Hemlock,
they're all in the same neighborhood.
so
Yeah,
you'd do all of those?
Right.
125.
Yeah. That's up
any
to
reason why
three.
one of them's blue? Or is it just,
I don't know why. I may have had a reason for that. That's last year.
That takes you down to about
So you-
400.
So now where would you go, Bob?
Well, looking at this, I mean, the,
Well, you said Ridge.
We're gonna
You were
do-
gonna do Ridge as well, right? Ridgefield?
right,
Right, Ridgefield to King?
right. Because if you look at that, we did King Street. We put those sidewalks in, and, I'd like to go up Ridgefield, and some of those streets are up there are okay. So if you look at the total of that whole neighborhood, we can get in and out of there for 56,000 something dollars.
Okay.
But where we already have, last year you gave us money for us to clear the way on Route 115 from Needham Street, like I had mentioned, up to the center of town.
Mhm.
That didn't include, if I were to go somewhere else, I'd probably go down to Needham Street. Because to really do Route 115, that section, I needed another $300,000. And as I mentioned to Jack earlier today, it really needs a water main replacement underneath it. But that's $1 million.
And you were gonna do Grove the same time you made the connection on the water, right?
Grove, we've been talking about it, but we were gonna do the water underneath it, and I'm
connection.
gonna go out there and dig a few holes, and if there's ledge, and we don't wanna spend that kind of money, because water's up against the wall right now. They're paying out a lot of money for where we're going. So if the water system underneath is good, and our leak detection is down, and the quality is good, then maybe we can leave water alone for a while and pay for a new source.
Okay.
And I think we got a truck coming our way out of water, too, out of retained earnings, and
So just to back up, priority 1, priority 2, priority 3, if you back that off the 700, you're down to like 350 if you did each of those groups in their entirety. The 175, the 125, and the 55. That would leave you with 350.
I haven't been doing the math, so,
Trust me.
okay.
You're right.
400, 450, yeah.
Then we either look
So-
at Needham Street, because Needham Street's in tough shape, and it kind of packages up, Route 115's complete all the way up to there, it's all new product, and then Needham Street is falling apart, and we tie that into the rest of the way going up to, on Route 115.
Yeah, sorry, and I stepped out for a moment in this conversation, so I want to make sure I'm not So doing those three groupings, the Ridgefield, Seneca, and Quail Run, that's slightly over 450 if my math is right.
Correct, and we started
Correct.
with 700, assuming the 200 from free cash. So that leaves 350.
And then 500 from Chapter 90, is that what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 490 roughly, yeah.
So then if we had 450 plus, if I'm correct, the North Street, the Route 115 is probably, our highest, that was our highest priority last year. So we want
Right.
to get that done, right?
That figure on North Street on the pass out that I give you is not correct. So if you look over at the Capitol, you'll see something more realistic.
You talking North Street to Needham?
Right.
Well, North Street from Needham to Union. So that's the,
So it's 325, Bob, instead of
That's
290.
300 grand.
325 instead of 292.
325 if you look at the Capitol list. Like I said,
on here, he's got it updated on
It's
here.
not
Yeah, he's got it
292,
here too,
it's
yeah.
3.
So that would eat up your, that would do it.
right.
But that's a really important one, because that sidewalk is just so horrible, and
Yeah.
I think you get a lot of traffic on that already.
And we've done all the groundwork for it. The only administrative type work I need to do with that is to do a tree hearing, lay the street out and figure out what trees need to be, and what grades we need to cut into. You'd be surprised that Route 115's not where it's supposed to be.
Well, I mean, you could take care of 3 neighborhoods, which would be huge. And then North Street, that'd be a great year.
Yeah.
So when Bob, if you look, Bob showed me a couple weeks ago, if you head down North Street, and so from this the small roundabout, I call it, the roundabout right here, and head down 115 towards that first section until you get to the bird sanctuary. If you look on the right-hand side, in the road, there are some orange dots as you go down, and that's where Norfolk County laid out, that's the center of our
So
right-of-way.
the road's in the wrong place.
So, well, it's on our property, but it's shifted to the left.
Yeah.
They took the short route, if you will. And if you look to the right as you're driving down the road towards the houses, you can see an orange stake where each of one of those orange dots are, and that's the town property. So in some cases, it goes pretty far into the, what would appear to be the people's property. So that just gives you an idea of where the road could go. Now, the reason I bring that up is because when you get down towards that intersection, the bad what I
Yeah.
call, it's one of our
Tricky,
3
yeah.
worst intersections in town. What Bob has suggested doing is trying to shift the road a little bit to the south so that you come into that intersection from a little more of a straight angle. A
Get a
little
line
more
of
a-
sight.
Yeah, so you gotta create a better line of sight. So I think that'll, I don't know what that does to your cost estimate, but that's an important, it's one of my, I think one of all of our goals is to make those intersections safer, and that's certainly
Yeah.
one of them.
How about the utilities and such, if you were to do that realignment that you're talking about? Do you get into the whole thing with telephone poles and all this other stuff?
I've
which
looked at
then
the
becomes a
telephone poles.
nightmare?
In other words, it's 50 feet wide, and right now, some of the road, it's 50 feet wide, so the pavement's this big. So that pavement can go anywhere inside that there. In the old days, what Jack was saying, I think they took the path of least resistance. If there was ledge, they just put it over here and they didn't care. But since it's been there for so long, the telephone poles have established themselves there. And to move them with all the, the different utilities on top of those, I plan now, maybe we'd be lucky to pave in 3 years.
Right,
So,
been
but
through that before.
but what they can do without having a hearing, because they need to come to you and have a hearing, and they
Right.
blame it on you guys, but it's not the truth. They can hook up onto a pole, and they can dig in the back, and they can kick that pole 3 feet before they have to come to a meeting, or they have a toilet,
Really?
if there's enough slack and stuff like that. So they can do that and then straighten up the pole, and that's gonna give us enough room. The idea down there is, number one, get sidewalks comfortably away from the street. And number two is what Jack said, if we can go down to that intersection and open up the line of sight, all doing this within the right-of-way, we can put the road anywhere we want on there, we just want to make a comfortable ride. With curbing, because we have drainage, so we need control with the curbing, and that would be the monolithic berm. When I came to you last year and I asked you for the money, I had envisioned having, where the sidewalk is so tight to the street, we were gonna put vertical granite curb, and that itself was a great expense. So I said to you, don't get excited about the pavement, we're not talking about that. If we can put the curb in and take some of the trees down and grade that, that's all you're gonna get until we can come up with the rest of the money. But at least we'll get the sidewalk in. But as I look at it, and because Norfolk, the county engineers finished, I went out there and I took the 50 feet and I plotted every 100 feet, I plotted a center line at the 25-foot mark. And I found out and then I went out and I relayed that into the street. So now that when you're in the street and you see the PK nail, which represents the center line, it's an X, red X, then I can look and see what my obstacles are. So I found that there are 2 telephone poles that we need to move, but the 3 feet's gonna give me the sidewalk room that we need. And I've already contacted the utility company, so they're working on it right now, a schedule of getting out here. Or at least they're gonna get an engineer out here and say they can or they can't do it. But the only tension on the wire is the 1 or 2 residential services. It's not the main line that goes down and
right.
feeds everybody in the center of town. And so as it goes down, it reaches over and it goes into each house. There's a couple of those that need to, they might have to rewire or something like that. But it's very important for them to know that it's a public cry. It's everybody, you know, the selectmen want it and the people have been asking for it, and there's a sidewalk.
Yeah.
And once you put them on notice that sidewalk's level with the street and somebody does get hurt there, they don't want that kind of,
That sidewalk's,
So
that sidewalk's
Plus
dangerous.
the intersection, which if anything we do to improve that, I would think they would,
right.
respect that.
That was the end of the design that, for that federal project that we had that just ended 3 or 4 years ago. So had it gone up the street, I think they would have shifted that over there anyways. So,
I think that's a great plan, Bob.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Overdue.
that 325 number, so this says 292. So the difference would include the things that you've described in terms of the
I don't know why
alignment
that
and stuff?
says that, I mean,
Maybe it didn't take into account the realignment.
no, I just recalculated, I just don't have that scratch work in front of me, but 325 is the actual price that I looked at this real good. Last year, it's only $25,000 different for a $500,000 project. Don't forget, we have $109,000 in the bank to work with to get started right now. So that whole construction, just to give scale to it, is a 4,000, almost a mile long. And we'll get that done for, with sidewalks and for, whatever that is, 109 plus 325, so 400 and something thousand dollars. Whereas 3 miles, we spent over $6 million
So
for many
your
different other
reserves,
reasons.
you'd still have a good 75 to 100 grand in the hole, which you're gonna need.
Yeah.
Because something always happens you don't anticipate, and that's what you need you need to keep some of that reserves in your chapter 90.
You're right. Got to keep
So that
some
would
right.
work.
I'm going to try to remember everything that we talked about, and I'll put those numbers, and I'll hammer them down and get it out to you, but,
Well, you
Losing
talked
folks.
about the bird neighborhood.
yep,
You talked about Seneca and
Bob.
Hemlock, that neighborhood.
right.
There's your number one.
You talked about the Ridgefield Road down through Stone. You talked about North Street.
Right.
And with your 109, that'll come up to about, net your 109 reserves will be around 600. So you'd still have about 100,000 left in chapter 90 funds.
Right.
That'd be,
We don't have to plan out any more than that. We'd be lucky to get all this
I
done
was gonna
this
say,
year.
can you get that all done? That's another question.
I think so. The only thing that worries me this year is after 10 years of not hating, but not getting along very well with aggregate industries, the last 3 years, they've been doing great work for us because we've trained their crew to do exactly what we wanted instead of them coming out and saying, get out of the way and then give me a check for 80 grand for every street. Now it's not them anymore. The bid has been given to another outfit. They're good, but I got to get to know each other.
You gotta build a relationship.
Yeah.
That's through our surge contract, right?
Right.
Yeah.
What's the name of them? They did Midway Branch. Good outfit. But they're so far away. That's another thing that bothers me.
So in terms of the road work, the procedure that we've adopted, which has been very effective, where you basically do some surface work,
Right.
and you get it nice and clean, you blow it down, what have you, and then you go ahead and top it. Is that the kind of work that we're talking about?
is.
I mean, is that for the most part?
It is, but, again, it's not out of the the engineer's handbook. We cheating a lot because we just don't have that kind of city traffic here. We're getting away with it, and these streets are lasting. So what I've been doing, instead of reclamating, which means going down, it's a little bit more expensive. It means you gotta come back with a binder. And then you come up, it's almost like paving the street twice, whereas you mill it. All I'm doing is taking like 3/4 to an inch out and then coming back with a full 2 inches. So we get thickness, but we get a consistency, and then, anywhere after they're done, wherever the weakness in the street is, we section them out, we make them back structurally, and then they come and they overlay the whole thing after we give them the engineering to do so. And we keep the monolithic berm. Anytime there's catch basins and there's control for drainage, curb's a good thing.
Yep.
You know, it
Bob,
holds-
I'd forgotten about this, and it just popped into my head. What about Lake Street? Now, let's just make the assumption that the specific legal issues are cleared up.
Mhm.
Was that about 125 grand?
I think we have, through an article, 130-something thousand.
So it's still set aside. That's what I was trying to
Right,
remember. You
and-
still have that set aside?
We do have it set aside, but that was with, 4 years ago, I had a relationship with the tree company. They were gonna come in and do it during the winter time.
Probably more money now.
So there's another 50,000 probably. I mean, who knows? We were gonna get that all done and taken care of for
We
under
do, we do have
25.
that 125 earmarked, do we not?
Yeah, even a little bit more. I can tell you
No,
exactly.
it's ballpark, that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to remember what we had set aside on that.
Yeah, I hate to talk about Lake Street, but if you want me to talk about Lake Street, I will, otherwise I won't.
I wasn't gonna ask you.
Okay, that's fine.
No, feel free.
Well,
No,
I'm not sure we should, I mean, given
No, I
it's a
still,
legal matter, but whatever you're comfortable with, I guess.
I'm comfortable with lots of, anyway, I still just worry about our design for Lake Street. Because, I mean, we've had, and I'm not sure we have a firm design, really, to be honest. I mean, Bob's got a design that I think you did with the selectmen, and what we agreed to with the community to do was.
We didn't agree, I
Well,
don't think.
Well, the planning board,
well,
we
we did
walked
agree
it-
on something
You walked
a
it, I
long time
walked it
ago.
twice.
You agreed on the trees and the location and all that stuff.
I've
But-
since changed a little bit, but go ahead, Jack.
And- But the overall plan was just to pave the area that is a dirt road now. That's kind of the general concept. And I feel obligated to bring up the fact that I still, and we've all had little discussions about it, I still feel concerned that if we pave that road, we're gonna end up with a narrow road, as narrow as the dirt road. Granted, you're probably gonna extend it a little bit. But, talking to the residents there, they pull off when they, today, in today's world, they literally have to pull off to let people pass in certain sections. And so my concern is if we pave that, people are gonna be traveling faster, and, you're gonna create a situation that's dangerous. And we've talked about one-way solutions, we've
Yep.
talked about turnouts.
We're talking
you
about
know.
everything.
And again, I don't wanna get to the point where all of a sudden the legal issues clear up, and then all of a sudden we're gonna, well, what are we gonna do? And,
Now, my recall is that, there was some widening in some areas, there were some cuts and some things that you were planning. When we walked that, we marked the trees, we painted, the trees and such. We were ready to go, 4 years ago. So I think, although it wouldn't necessarily address all of Jack's concerns, I think it would make it better. That was what your objective was, correct? Was that you were gonna try to address some of the concern as far as the narrowness even?
Originally, what we came up with for a price, or what I came up with for a price, was a conversation much different than what we're having now. Because the more we talk about it, the more people get involved, the more expensive it gets. Because we get into, what are we going with the water? It's gonna run off, we gotta do, check dams. Because it can't, stormwater regulations, you can't have point source discharges, so the water's gotta come off in some, in some areas, it's gotta hit some riprap, filter out. So the whole objective is to get rain and drain water into the streams and rivers as clean as possible without the sedimentation. Right now, it's worse than
Right.
any pavement you're putting down because everything travels with it, so. But like Jack says, the more legal sized road that we have, the more I get into the, I gotta get into the wetlands, I gotta do some more stone wall work, I gotta do some retaining, Originally, we were just gonna go down, I was gonna grade it, I was gonna put a binder, and then we were gonna take a couple of off-seasons and build save some of the rocks where they are for historical reasons, and then build the walls. So in other words, if you go down that street, some of the walls follow the contour of the land, but it goes up like a cliff.
Yeah.
So to grade that back and leave the rocks there, it can't happen. So what you do is you pretend the rocks are there, and you took out all the dirt, and they just fall to the ground, and then build the rock at the street level, and that becomes a retainer wall. So you get to keep your rocks, your vintage rocks and everything that was there or whatever. And it holds back the earth, and you gotta, water just can't travel uphill, so what's it gonna do? So you gotta build some kind of shoulder for it to travel. Either it's gonna go down the street for 100 yards, or it's gonna go off gradually.
See, I respectfully disagree with you.
That's fine,
I mean, we have belabored Lake Street, all of us, for a long time, and doing nothing is not acceptable. We have to do something. So the alternative to widen that road was far in excess of what we could ever afford to do. I agree with you about the speed, but there are other ways we could control. You could put in speed bumps. I mean, we could do things to control some degree of the traffic flow. Speed bumps do work.
We've done on Everett Street.
Yeah,
the-
I mean,
the
they
humps.
do work. So there are ways that we could slow the traffic down, but leaving it the way it is not an option. And fixing it to first, I'm not even sure the folks want that. I mean, we had 2 major meetings on this, and I don't think anybody wanted that road put to 24 feet. I mean,
Right.
the encroachment on their land as well as the wetlands was extensive, almost for the whole road. So somewhere in the middle, there's got to be a solution that fixes the problem, doesn't require you to go down there like you have in prior years and spend 75 grand every year, wasting money for all intents and purposes, because it's throwaway. And I agree, the speed's an issue, but let's find a way to deal with that. And whether it be speed bumps or whatever, find a way to slow that traffic down, because the alternative is just, leaving it is not an alternative for us, at least my view. That's got to get fixed.
How different, if you were to move forward, let's say, over the next 6 months, this legal matter gets resolved, how different would your plan be from what you reviewed during the tree hearing with the planning board, which is what I know, because you reviewed, the cuts, when I say cuts, some of the embankment that you would have to cut into and such, and some of the stone walls, and, we went through all that detail. How different would your plan be today from what it was at that point? Because you were pretty far along in terms of your plan there at that point.
Again, the idea when I first came out with the price was to give us something to plow, not really widen the road too much. And with that wear course staying there, no money to top it or anything like, just a wear course, but it's something. We could work off that and reconstruct the sides of the roads and the shoulders on our own time. But if we were to go and make this something more legitimate, let's say, you get to double the price easy. These trees are bigger that we were gonna take down 3 years, they've probably grown,
Well, it'd be even more than that. I mean, you are going to be encroaching in the wetlands. There's nothing you can do about that. You're going to be taking major trees off of people's front yards, the stone walls, those are all going to go. And no one wanted that.
But to Jack's point, you don't want to do all this and find out the people that have been sleeping come out and say, hey, that's no good, because that's what's going to happen. I live with that on a daily basis. But if there's, any liability factors, let's iron them out now so we all said we said so.
I may be wrong, but I think that there was pretty broad support for that plan. When we marked those trees, we had a few people that came out and voiced their concern. One of them, was chosen to take legal action against the town. But I don't recall the clearing being that terribly extensive for most of the homeowners on Lake Street. There were a few that would get more impacted than others, for sure, but am I wrong? I don't recall it being that objectionable in terms of the cuts that
Well,
you
it was
had.
the trees that stopped us, because we were going about our business. So we got an injunction to stop. We couldn't do anything because we took down trees less than 4 inches in diameter. Then we were taking a bigger tree down on the accepted portion of it, and that's where we thought we were taking a tree down this big, but the road was
Trees
13 feet
stopped?
wide.
The tree stop? I mean, the tree
Yes.
hearing, the planning board was in agreement.
Yeah, but
No, the attorney
injunction,
there's-
the injunction was over the trees.
Right.
Oh, so, okay,
Yeah.
through legal,
Right.
okay. But not
That's, 3 hours into the job.
colleagues on the boards and such, and, that wasn't the issue, I know, at that time. But, yeah, once it goes to the attorneys and the.
Well, I didn't mean
boards,
to
it's another-
raise an ugly head, but with a little
No.
luck, this might get resolved here fairly soon. And, I knew we had money set aside, I just couldn't remember how much it was.
So you know that there's 1,800 feet of street, and
Right.
maybe that should be calculated into Chapter 90, because I haven't sought funding for that. And I didn't,
Yeah,
I don't think
I-
I've come up with a price for that either. So it might want to back off some of this paperwork
Yeah, I was
to
gonna say,
fit that in.
it wouldn't leave you enough reserves, Bob, if you had to,
Yeah, I'd just take something out of here.
yeah. 'cause
We'll
you-
we can think
Culverts,
that out.
I mean, every year you gotta fix a culvert someplace you didn't
Right.
anticipate, so. You gotta make sure you leave at least 100 grand for reserves on that.
I mean, if you came in on budget with everything, it left 25,000
It wouldn't be
off the
enough.
700.
Yeah,
No,
it
no,
wouldn't be
but,
enough.
But again, just so you understand what we first proposed and what we have the money to do, is go down there. I'm talking like 3 or 4 days' time. This is done, to the point where Val will go and start doing all the other stuff. So we're gonna take down some, take the trees down that we wanna take down, and go down there and just lay out a binder. Coming up with the width is the question right now. And then, after that, we get out of the way, do our work, and then, in the off-seasons, we come and we start doing off-the-shoulder work.
Well, we're subject to the courts anyway right now, so
Yep.
we have to wait and see. But it does appear like it's coming to a conclusion.
Good. And it's,
Well,
it,
would you entertain a motion, Mr. Chairman?
certainly.
I would move that we fund for capital items in the Springtown meeting, Mr. McGee's requests for well, I can identify them if you will, but the dump body at 82,000, the concrete compactor slab at 8,500, concrete recycle slab at 12,000, the mower collector replacement at 14,300, the plate compactor 5,300, and the leaf vac at 6,500, and additionally 65 grand for repairing and repaving the DPW parking lot for a total of $193,000.
Just one point of discussion, the concrete compactor slab, is that 10,000 or 8,500? We just said it was 8,500.
it's the right column, total.
So it's 10,000, so as amended.
So accepted. So that actually moves it up another 1,500, so that's 194,500.
And transfer station pavement, just to clarify, you said it's 65?
That's what you've got,
Right.
yeah.
But not the DPW parking lot at this time.
Well, wait a second.
Not the
It's other-
DPW parking lot.
No, the transfer station park
Oh, I'm
payment is
sorry,
80.
transfer station payment is 80. I was looking at
Right.
the DPW
Right,
parking
you
lot.
wanna do
One,
that. So we're doing that?
So my math is off.
Want to start over?
I do.
I'll give you a
Sorry about that.
redo.
Let me just write that down. Jim said his math was off. I want to get that in. That's never happened before.
Memorialized.
Did you make two mistakes in
I
one
did,
motion?
I did, yeah, I did.
You want to start all, scrap the motion?
Too much coffee.
Okay.
All right, so the dump body is at 82 grand. The concrete slab is at 10, not 85. I was looking in the wrong column. The recycle slab is 12. The collector replacement is at 14.3. Plate contractor at 5,300. The leaf vac is at 6,500. And the DPW parking lot, no, I'm sorry. The transfer station pavement is at 80 grand for 319.5. 219.5, sorry, 219.5.
I'm afraid the second.
Okay, motion has been made. Do we have a second?
We have a second.
Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And we can deal with that dump truck in the fall.
Really?
Just keep that thing going, though. One with the stop sign.
Would you entertain
Riveted
a
to
se-
the
would you entertain a second
floorboards.
motion?
I would.
I would move to move $200,000 from free cash over to the DPW for road work in fiscal year 2018.
Have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
You're going to be busy, Mr. McGee.
I like it. So my next move will be to put together a Chapter 90 request for this year. How it works with the 200,000, because they're gonna mix and match, and that's a wonderful thing.
We have most of the other stuff done this week then, probably.
This week, yeah.
Tuesday,
Could
right?
use a guy like you.
Positive attitude, Bob. I can't get it done, but I can obviously wish it on you. Oh, some of these things you have to order, so that's true.
What did you say the total came out to? Just I'm making sure
What?
I got my notes right.
What did you say?
Didn't you say the total was?
219.5.
No, it's not 219.5.
I think we said that, but
I got 82,000 plus 10,000
plus 12.
plus 12
Plus
plus
14.
14,300 plus 5,300
Right, that's 129.5.
Plus 65.
plus 6,500 plus 80,000 for the transfer station,
Right.
Yeah.
right?
Which is 903095. 2095, sorry.
Jack? I'm trusting you on the numbers there.
So I'm using my calculator. I'm not.
And,
See, I gave Bob my sheet, and I stopped writing all the numbers. And
I'm gonna make a third mistake in my head tonight?
I get 210,100.
why is it so hard? I mean, it's got that first, the first 6 prior to items. What is that total?
11, 16, 128.6, and 80. Did you get 200 or 600?
210,100. And it comes out to 100 at the end, I can tell you that, because 300 plus 500 is 100.
Well, it is 11 and 5, 16. I don't know how you're getting the 100.
I may have to add these up.
You
Ah,
got the
it's
same
just-
list as me,
It's right here.
these things?
82, 10.
It's 134.10 on the, isn't the top 6, Bob, 134.10?
500, yeah.
I can add it up.
5 plus 3 plus 3 equals
Calculator,
1.
5 and 3 are 8, 11.
Yeah.
Then it's not the same column. Hold on. 5.
We're not using these columns, we're using these numbers.
What's the difference?
Those numbers are
Oh,
bigger.
this one's different. Oh, okay.
What did it come out to, 129.8?
Okay. 14,
Plus the
3,
80.
53. The only difference is the 85 to 10. It's a $1,500 difference. That's the only difference.
What'd you get, Jack?
I got
He's right.
210,100.
He's right. It's a $1,500 difference.
So what'd you get, Jack?
I get 210,100.
He's correct.
Jim says
Yep.
I'm correct, so I'm sure I am.
Yep. Works for me. Okay, so,
So that.
Anything
that,
else for-
Well, that amendment should
you want to do
change
that
to.
amendment? What'd you say in your motion?
Well, he's
two?
got the items. That's all that matters.
Yeah,
That's
so,
the important
You got the
thing.
dump out, yeah. You've got all, I've got all the items.
He's got the
Yeah.
items.
That was the benefit of making the motion the way you did.
1 out of 4 is not bad.
I'm gonna look to
I
Scott
kept
for
looking
the
at
rest of the
DPW parking
meeting
lot. I don't
here.
know why I did that.
So can I ask one, so the 200,000, we're gonna move into capital account, so you can use it, because you're not gonna do this before June 30th. You're not gonna wanna spend that before June 30th. Well, you're not gonna wanna spend all of it before June 30th. I got it, never mind. So
Which piece are you talking about? The
the
210?
200,000,
That's for roads.
yeah. We'll move that into a capital account so you can spend it this year or next year, so it's not I retract my question.
Yeah, because you're going to want to get going quick.
Some of this work probably wouldn't be
But I
finished
also don't
until the
wanna
fall
force
town
them
meeting.
into encumbering and all that.
Would you put that in the budget under the road program?
I'd put it under a capital
As
article.
opposed to the $1 road program we've had in there forever?
Yeah, I mean, we could put it in that's what made me think about it, because we put it into the road program in the operating budget,
Then it's not
then we
available
gotta
until July
decide which
1?
year you're gonna spend it.
Yeah, it's not available until July 1 if you do
Right.
that.
So that's why I
Yeah.
retracted my question,
Yeah.
just say, let's make it a capital article so that
Yeah.
That's
It's not.
twice you're right tonight.
doesn't happen very often.
Bob, as always, thank you for all the great work you do.
Well,
Yeah, thank you, Bob.
I watch it, the guys do it. You thank me all the time, but those are the boys that are doing this stuff.
We do a good job watching then. It's your
Is the-
inspiration. Those guys say
Good at that.
they're
I don't want
inspired.
to, I don't want to keep you till midnight, but is,
Yeah.
is the revenue, I noticed in the budget, is the revenue starting to slide on the recycling center?
The recycling markets haven't been
Is
prosperous
that
at
what
all.
it is?
That's all, you know.
Just that?
Yep. Other than that, you know,
But its usage has been pretty consistent?
right. We haven't gone up, we're probably the only town in America, and half of Europe, that hasn't gone up on its, the annual sticker price.
Half of Europe?
I mean, we're at $65 a year.
That's a broad
You really
list.
did a big survey.
I mean, that's what you usually do in an enterprise. You take a look at things, and where you make up the difference to break even is somewhere in the sticker or something, you know, because we're doing everything we can to, you know, sell product and get the best price for our recyclables.
So
at
is the
market.
recycling that, I noticed in the budget,
Right.
it was down a little. That was the
Like, I think
recycling?
cardboard's probably most prosperous, and that's probably at $90 or something like that. We've seen that up around up to 130 at some points, you know.
So that's a big swing when it
And
comes
the
down.
compactors are just great, you know, they just, it is what it is. So we take, with 2 trips or 1 trip with those, you know, depending on what you're pushing together, you know. You do plastics, it kind of expands back and stuff, so you gotta open it to put stuff in, but when, you know what I'm saying? But like cardboard, a little bit of moisture kind of compacts good and, long story, but those things are good.
Great. Thanks very much, Bob.
Thanks for everything, fellas.
Thank you, Bob.
Good news, I appreciate it, thanks.
Much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you, Bob.
I'm not going to hear the end of those 2 mistakes, am I?
You know, the good thing is my memory's horrible, so I won't even remember.
Warrant?
I want to do a little bit of, warrant first.
Whatever works best, Jack.
Just to give you an update on debt.
Can we have that? Is that the thing in the front right there?
Oh, did I give you this one already?
I grabbed one from the front.
Is that it?
Oh, those are probably leftovers from the advisory board. It's the same thing. Kevin,
Let's hope it's the same thing.
So that's our debt schedule. It is updated with everything that we have existing today. Obviously, the one thing that isn't there is when we go out to borrow for the public safety projects, that will be under the exempt debt, and and that'll add on to the, obviously, directly onto the tax rate when we borrow that money. So the sections that you have here are the first big section on the first page is non-exempt debt, so that's money that we pay for out of the general fund budget. We have a bunch of projects that even go pre-me, pre-Jim, landfill closeouts, sewer work. I think the L90 Michigan loader is probably, that's 2009. Some more sewer projects, the town hall reconstruction. So the good news is a lot of these things are coming to an end. We've had 10, 15, and 20-year schedules. So you see that debt schedule over the next 10 years, and we've got 2016 there in the first column, so you can kind of ignore that one. 2017 is where we are today. We're about to head into 2018, which we've been able to keep that relatively flat. And then we have a $90,000 drop next year, another $105,000 drop the year after that, and then a $117,000 drop after that. So we do have some capacity to take on more debt in the general fund if we wanted to. Obviously, if we don't, then that frees up budget money for other purposes. We haven't borrowed money we've borrowed money for vehicles over the past 10 years. And then one other thing was we borrowed money for, or three other things, sorry. There's the roads in 2014. The land acquisition is part of the public safety project when we bought that land, and then also that was for 1.1 million, and then the other 700,000 is all the engineering fees related to the project. And then the underground tanks, which we did a couple of years ago for the HL day school. We borrowed money last spring, I think a year ago.
Yeah, sounds right.
So we did make an adjustment from the original proposed budget, that underground tanks, we were gonna start paying off that principal in 2018. We pushed it out a year. You've got to start paying principal by the third year of a project. 2019 will be the third year, so we're paying that off in 3 years, starting in 2009. You know, we're paying some interest now, but we're paying principal. And that was because we had some capacity in 2019 to add that debt service too, and also, obviously, we were trying to accommodate all the budget challenges this year. So, anyway. So the good news is, I think in the exempt debt, we have some budget capacity coming up in the upcoming years. So, you know, maybe in the fall, we want to think about, at least have that conversation whether or not we want to borrow money, whether it be for roads or for some other, maybe some of those larger vehicles that, for the DPW. Of course, we'll look at, you know, the fire station vehicles as well, because there are obviously some big ticket items there.
Well, but we have, I know Matt has identified several projects that he is concerned about.
Yep, that
And then
too.
we got the HOD roof, which we
Well,
think
we
we think
believe we
we're
have
gonna
money
be able to
identified for
fund,
that.
but, you know, if the state ever sends the check, you know, in our
That
lifetime.
still hasn't happened. For
No,
Freeman
No.
Kennedy?
No, and you, at the last meeting, unfortunately, the SBA came back and told us that for this round of applications, they're only accepting projects with roofs that are over 30, that are 30 years old. So they're bumping us out a year. The feedback they gave Ingrid, Dr. Alardi, was that next year they will go back to the 20-year rule. The good news out of that is, even though we have to wait a year, there's nothing critical right now, that, you know, the roof is manageable. But the good news of waiting a year is that the addition now will fall under the 20, will get to the 20-year mark. So we'll be able to do the whole roof, rather than we were planning on doing, it's like 3/4 or 7/8 of the roof. Now we'll be able to do the whole thing.
but we have not gotten.
If
the
they approve it
reimbursement
next
check
year.
yet.
What's that?
Yeah.
We haven't gotten the reimbursement check yet.
Right.
Freeman Kennedy. And are we gonna have to do some stopgap stuff just to tide us through the next year with the
Yeah, I don't
existing
think
roof?
anything severe.
Yeah.
Nothing that he's come and asked for capital money for, so I think we're okay. I wouldn't be surprised if he asked for some money in the fall, depending on how, you know, if he spends some time this summer looking at it. He's got a good roofer that he's been working with, a resident who's, you know, just been volunteering consulting work, so it's, you know, we're not just relying upon Matt's expertise.
But he also identified the boiler
Yep.
at the HOD,
And big freezer.
yeah, and the siding on the library and the senior center. Or portions of the library, not the whole library, but portions of it. And, you know, I mean, we've done, I think, a pretty decent job of getting our, you know, getting our buildings and what have you taken care of. And we don't want to let that slide. I don't know, I'm a little reluctant to borrow for the next couple of years with this police station coming on board. And I know.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting we do, I just,
Yeah, no, I know in terms of the ratio and and, you know, S&P and all that, we've got room to do that. I know we've got room to, it's always good to have room to borrow, because you never know when you have to. But I would be reluctant to, I mean, we're still gonna have 200,000 of free cash flowing into next year.
from this year's.
From this
free
year.
cash, yep.
And then we've been averaging, I mean, you and your group do a fabulous job on managing the budgets.
Yeah, you know, and again, I know I sound like a broken record, I just, you know, as we continue to cut and cut and cut the budgets, you know, we're gonna have less, we're gonna have less left in the budgets
Diminishing
at
returns.
the end of the year, yeah, so.
But you know, I mean, it's reasonable to expect that we're gonna have,
Couple 100,000.
Yeah.
It'd be safe, yeah.
yeah.
I can just encourage you all to go out and buy new cars, because that'll drive up our excise tax revenue. Jeff did. Right?
Thank you.
The company did.
It's my company.
That
Yeah,
doesn't
but it's still a
count.
licensed here, isn't it?
No, it's,
Your daughters deserve new cars too, Jeff.
Yeah, graduation present. Like I'm a college graduation.
You haven't,
Oh, graduation, high school graduation present. That's the lovely
hey,
idea.
careful, you're in that boot too, buddy.
Yeah, but no, not high school. Yeah, I'm just.
I've got a ways to go for the grandkids,
yeah,
I'm
next
okay.
year is gonna be tricky with two of them.
So the next section is exempt debt, and that is not as pleasant looking because it's, there's not anything coming off. The Each Olive Day came off a couple years ago. We can probably delete those rows now, but the library is the next one that comes off, which doesn't really come off until 2023. And then the Freeman, it's just listed as school there, but that's the Freeman Kennedy School. That goes on forever. That goes on until 2031, so I don't think I'll be working. I'm pretty confident I'll be working. And obviously we'll add that's where we'll add the police, public safety debt as well, so. That's, obviously it is going down. We don't, it's not like a mortgage where they have level payments. Our debt service goes down year by year, but you can see it doesn't go down.
Why, neither you or I are a party to that decision that was made. I'm just curious, why would they have had done two separate bans for plans and construction? Why wouldn't they
For
have
the
done
Freeman
one?
Kennedy?
Yeah, no, for the library. Why wouldn't they have done one band?
I don't know, I assume I assume one is for, maybe they went out and borrowed the money originally for the plans, and then for whatever reason it took
Why
it,
wouldn't they have rolled it into the construction
I don't know, yeah, usually.
and gotten it in a single band and saved some money?
Usually that's what we do, is we keep it short-term until the whole project
Yeah.
is done, and then we
Yeah.
long-term it all. But,
Do you know, is that refinanceable, Jack? Are they paying a high rate? I mean, it's 03, so I don't know what the rates were.
Well, they do that. I mean, your department's really good about reevaluating all of our bands and figuring out when we can sort of roll things together and get lower rates.
There are some, we can't refinance municipal bonds until they're at least 10 years.
10 years?
10 years, yeah.
So there are, and I'm not sure, I'm gonna assume that they're those sewer, I don't know if they're the MWPAT loans.
Well, the libraries are 10 years, right? They're both 03, more than 10,
Yeah, the library, but, no, that one's empty, sorry.
right? 03 in the library.
Yeah, I'm sure the library we've already, I mean, we
The
do
li-
it every
They
year.
did the library. I
Yeah.
remember that. They did the library. They refinanced it. They re-rolled. I just don't know why they didn't roll it into one debt.
Oh, so that's the original issue date, not
Yeah.
necessarily the
Refinance.
reissue or refinance.
Yeah, that's the original issue date.
I think
Because
that-
any rolling would only be for the remaining years anyway, so. Okay.
And the last page is, on the second page, is the water department debt, so you can see that as well. And, that used to be closer to $600,000. So we haven't borrowed money there, and we borrowed a little bit in 2013, but we really haven't borrowed money there for a long time, so it's.
Well, that's going to
It's been
change.
dropping. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is
That's going to change with a new well. By the way, are they doing that 8-inch testing this week?
No, I don't think that's actually happening until, we met with the DEP. The DEP has verbally approved it. They have not officially approved it. I think that actually will happen in early to mid-May is when the
Close.
actual testing will happen. So, yeah, it's coming
Okay.
up. What we should have done with Bob is assume you're also gonna support his money for the $304,000 out of the water department to pay for that 5-day pump test, speaking of that. It's at the top of his,
Didn't we authorize that?
no, not
He
the,
showed us the Gantt chart, a couple months ago, and I think we were on board. I don't know if
I
the
thought we
numbers
did.
changed at all.
I don't think so. I think we've approved $100-and-something thousand. I didn't think we'd approved the 305,000.
It's 304, to be exact.
Yeah, 304. He's got there written at the top, total annual town meeting request.
Do you know what his estimate was going back?
God, I
some
could have
months
sworn we
ago?
did that. I don't have
Yeah.
that file.
He had the engineer here,
Probably right.
right?
Because did we talk about just like approving it all, like asking for it all, right?
Yeah, I brought that concept up, and it's,
I thought we said that was what we wanted to do,
well,
right?
we can. The problem is then you go out, if you want to borrow, I mean, if we do the $304,000, we can do that out of the retained earnings, which is like free, that's the water department's version of free cash. If we do the whole $100 million, that would require us to borrow.
All right. I thought we had this guy kind of strike while and so I just.
We had this discussion.
Just in
My
case.
fault, we did, and I was just trying to, I simplified it one way and complicated it another way. I tried to simplify it so that we wouldn't have to go back to town meeting again in the fall and ask for the other $700,000.
Right. Because we just, not kidding, but in case they didn't approve it, I don't know why you'd sink 300,000 and not
Right.
continue the project, but it's still the will of the people.
And it does, it doesn't. We can
No, I'm-
we can word the motion so that it's, funded by $304,000 of retained earnings and
Yeah.
and the remaining of the project funded by debt if you want. It'll require a 2/3 vote.
Well, that would be my vote.
It's just a vote for the whole thing.
Yeah.
I think that's
Okay.
what we decided. I thought it was the kind of consensus, maybe Jeff wasn't here. but-
It was, and
Was it the last meeting?
I don't know, not last meeting.
Well, I
but maybe-
remember, I was
maybe
here
time
when they
Okay.
had to make the presentation up on the screen with the Gantt chart and
Right,
everything.
but I think we just kind of went back and forth on talking about go for it all,
Yeah.
in case something changes.
I remember, I think I remember that.
Okay.
Obviously Jack didn't, but that's okay.
so that'll be in the capital article. Is we'll ask for the funding for the whole project, and I'll get Bob to put he's only got the $304,000 there. I'll have him update all those numbers and we'll send that out to you.
Okay.
Obviously, if you
Okay.
don't like it, you can let me know.
That makes sense. I mean, put it all out there because, I mean, the best situation is the pump test comes out fine and he
Right.
just continues to press on.
Thank you,
with
sir.
the project.
So the last week's, when we met briefly at the King Philip meeting, and then last Monday was a long week, and then Wednesday we met with Todd and I met with the advisory board. This is the budget that we presented, which is a result of the discussions that we had at the King Philip meeting, and then us making some adjustments to get to where we are. So as you can see, that's the budget driver sheet on top, and it up top on the blue section shows you all the revenues, creating revenues of $36.7 million. And these are the kind of the Norfolk terms. The fixed costs, which are the costs that we really can't control, going from debt service to shared services, and includes Tri-County and Norfolk Agricultural School. That totals $7 million. Down on the bottom is the general fund budget, which we do have some discretionary control over. It's Norfolk Elementary, which we have now at 4%. Ingrid was willing to, agreed to lower her initial request from 4.25% down to 4%. The general government is relatively flat because we're making some pretty significant cuts still in the facilities budget, and also in the selectmen's expense budget. Sorry about that. And
Check on that, sorry, just
Yep.
on the, so reserve fund, when did we decide to, I don't remember talking about bumping up 25,000, we did that to 75, don't we usually do?
we did. So one of the things that was Todd's suggestion, and I liked it, was because, all right, so in the last round of cuts, we went back to public safety, about, I think 18,000 out of fire, and I think it was about $20,000 from police. And then we went to DPW and made some relatively minor cuts, but places I thought he could make some changes. And then, as I said, in the facilities department. So those four big departments, we made some ballpark of $20,000 cuts per department, and even, I think, more on the facilities.
Oh, so you're
front.
just saying you want to back it up with the
So-
advisory board money in case. it
Yeah,
runs
so we wanted to put, the 75,000 doesn't equal all the cuts we made, otherwise we wouldn't be making any progress. But, the thought is that, all right, so maybe one of those departments will have a challenge and won't be able to live with the cuts kind of the draconian cuts that we made. So we'd be able to go back to the advisory board and support them. Obviously, if all 4 departments can't live with those draconian cuts, then we have a bigger problem. But I don't think that's likely to happen. So that's why the mentality was to put some, and we were able to do that because even though we raised the advisory board reserve fund to $75,000, that we were able to do that because we took more money out of free cash. And again, we don't like to fund the operating budget out of free cash, but could at least with a straight face say that, all right, we're putting it in the reserve fund. It's not money that we're planning to spend, but it's there as a safety net if the advisory board and the board of selectmen agree to, that we have a problem throughout the year. So, like I said, we were able to make some cuts in those 4 big departments. You've got all the line items in this section as well.
Enrollment's down at Tri-County, huh?
It's the Norfolk enrollment of
Yeah.
Tri-County, yep. Attleboro and Franklin are up significantly, so it's.
What about the legal number, Jack?
That was one that I had circled. Obviously, you can see I copied my sheet. I think, we've been funding that budget between $75,000 and $80,000 for a few years. We've moved it up to $110,000 this year because we had some extra ZBA costs. I've got a little pile of legal bills that I got to pay on my desk, so I'm pretty confident we're going to get to a point where we're going to have to do a transfer even with that $110,000 in there. But we've, a combination of the work money we spent Southwood was the big problem. We also had the hoarder issue. That was a big challenge. And then some of the ZBA, the 40B reviews was the smaller of those 3 things, but those were also some costs.
Todd did a nice job.
Todd did do a nice job.
Now, if Plainville can come through and match our number on KP, we'll be okay.
Yeah, I don't have a strong confidence that they're going to be able to do it, but, I hope they do.
Neither do they. I talked to Bruce the other day, and he's trying. I give him great credit. They're trying hard, but their resources are really strained.
And they're, go ahead.
Well, Jack, I was just, on the human service, I'm just curious about the council on aging, why the big bump in salary?
Christine came into the advisory board and made a good presentation. They're trying to add, she's got somebody for 12 hours a month, the outreach person, and they're trying to move it up to 30 hours a week. So it's the one adding that outreach person.
All right.
Right now, she has, she's the only full-time person. She's got the bus driver for, I guess, 30 hours a month, and then she's got the admin at the desk, the greeter, if you will. But the number of outreach cases have risen dramatically, so the outreach person is the person that goes around to the community and, checks
Explains the program,
checks
a lot
on.
of different things, right, yeah, gets them the care they need.
And she brought statistics and really, shown how that community has grown dramatically over the past 10 years. And she's trying to get some help in that area.
So, I'm sorry, the bump it from what to what, what is, we have one person doing outreach. How many hours a week now, or
It's 12 hours a month now. She's trying to go all the way up to 30 hours a week.
full-time?
10, yeah, not 40 hours, but yes.
No,
Full-time
because it's
position,
benefits,
yes.
it's a significant cost, That's some serious statistics, and she does a good presentation. I mean, he went from,
She
obviously,
did.
either we've been grossly underserving people for a long time, to go from 12 a month to 30 a week, that's 120.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
10 times.
you know, and I think when, you know, this goes back to an issue that has come up a little bit with the, in the past
I don't
couple
have,
months.
I
with the
I get
city.
no complaints from our senior member here. He seems to get outreached all the time, you know?
He's got daughters in town that take care of him, apparently.
Oh, okay.
He,
They talking about you?
I didn't know
Not
you heard
yet.
that. I didn't think I heard that, but okay.
you know, when we hired Christine, you know, Jim was on the committee, Richard Connors and Jay Tallerman. You know, Richard and Jim are both from the Council on Aging, and the guidance we got from the Council on Aging, and then we, you know, used when we hired Christine was, we really want to grow the impact, if you will, of the senior center. We want, you know, there's a core group that use the senior center, and we want to make sure that the senior community, you know, all throughout Norfolk is reached by the senior center. And that's what she's trying to do, is, you know, not just, you know, trying to advertise the services that they do, and then make sure that the services that they provide, that they're provided not just to the, you know, the core people that they know about, but the people that really need the services.
Are you open to a suggestion, or is it too late?
Well, the advisory board voted this budget, so but I'm open
Okay.
to suggestions. Of course I am.
Okay. I would have lowered that 250 under snow and ice down to 225 and put the other 25 over to legal.
Well, you can't, if you're gonna want to.
No, I'm not gonna do it now.
No, but I'm just saying, if you want to retain the ability to deficit spend the snow and ice, you have to fund it at the same level you funded it
I know.
the previous year,
I
so.
know.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, you do.
It's a little quirk, I get that, I guess.
And we've been raising it every year so that we didn't have a bigger deficit. What was it, like 125?
I mean, we
like
level
5
funded
years
it.
ago.
You wanted to
I know
go-
you did.
you wanted
I
to
know
go
you
backwards?
did. No, you can't.
It's can't, because we have to deficit spend, I mean,
I
unless we get
said it forgetting the fact that you can't deficit spend. I forgot that.
I didn't know that, yeah.
Municipal accounting rules. It's a lot of them.
Yeah, I forgot that, Jack. Sorry about that. Because we're gonna be short on that legal fee.
I mean, more 40Bs are coming and everything like that, I think,
Yeah.
yeah.
More?
Not more, but I mean, they just keep, you know, I mean, whatever, until they, you know.
As they progress.
Yeah,
take those
whatever, it
size
just seems like it's
pointers.
gonna cost a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't, you know, I agree with your point.
I know
there,
you do.
but, I mean,
I know you do.
I
Yeah. Well, we can do a transfer.
I suspect we'll transfer money in the fall to
Yeah.
the town council, or, you know, or we can,
So Jack, I mean, procedurally, we go forward with this budget to town meeting. So what needs to be done at town meeting to deal with the contingency where the 4.5% increase isn't supported by a second town?
You mean up or down?
yeah, so if we,
Yeah, so if that 4.5 comes down, I mean, what needs from a budget standpoint and town meeting, what needs to?
it's easy in our case this year, because, you know, more than likely, we're either voting a number that somebody will match, and then if that happens, nothing has, you know, then we're locked in.
Right. Which is what I think this group would like to see,
Yes,
but it's out of our
absolutely.
hand. I mean, this is,
If the other two towns, you know, kind of go off and agree to a lower assessment level, you know, and obviously that, whatever, that, you know, a 3% or a 3.5%, say, then we'd have money in our appropriation that we could transfer out in the fall, either back to free cash or
Cover
to,
legal.
or to some, or to legal.
I mean, I know you can't, well, you can't do it automatically. I think it was Jeff's question, right? It has to be free cash and then transferred.
I mean, you don't have an alternative budget in,
No.
you know, scenario X, scenario Y, depending on what, you know.
I
you
mean,
go-
in theory, you could, I wouldn't
It's the
vote on
first
it.
time this has come up this way since I've been on this board, that's why I know.
This has happened before.
It's happened before, well, we don't always know, I mean, last year it happened.
And we didn't know it.
We didn't know it, we just
I
didn't know
remember,
it.
yeah, I remember. Yeah,
They
it was 100,
voted,
what, 150,000 or
Right.
something, to the good, I mean,
the minimum local contribution calculation changed, so we had extra money in the appropriation, so in the fall, we transferred out of there. So that's the only way you can resolve it, is in the fall.
Okay.
Either we'll have to go up or down, depending on,
I mean, we know that Rentham isn't gonna support it. We know that.
we know that.
We know that. That's a given. And, our 494 is Plainville's 640.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And last I heard, they were spending every dime of free cash, and they had only 300,000, at least that's what they said, in reserves,
in the stabilization fund.
stabilization fund, which is pretty thin. They're trying, but, if they go at 4%, 3.5%, something like that, that'd be about 175 grand back to us.
What happens now, I forgot what it is, what happens, three numbers come in, 3%, three numbers come in, three different numbers, I forgot.
There were 3.5,
Whatever,
4.5,
and
right?
three, whatever, just three different numbers, no two numbers.
My understanding
It's
is.
the middle number.
It's the middle number.
It's the middle
Okay.
number. Yeah, if
It's
we're
the
here,
level that two
Plainville's here.
support.
Right.
So if you have to drop
Yeah.
one to get
Right.
that support.
I got you, no, I'm just curious, I mean, like I said.
Goes to the middle number.
So we could potentially be the highest,
Well, we will be the highest.
and we will be the highest, and then,
So whoever votes the second highest will
Would win.
drive the
okay.
Right.
KP
But
bus.
they're gonna try. They're gonna try and hit the 4.5. Or the equivalent of 4.5. Which I hope they do. I sincerely hope they do. I know Bruce was trying hard on it. But as he said, he was a chemistry major.
All right, so my last, any more budget?
No.
Start this about the
Now,
time of night
please,
that I start getting hangry.
please tell Todd he did a great job.
Oh, well.
yeah, I watched the meeting with the advisory committee there. Did a nice job.
It's looking more and more like Jack every day, I like to say.
This is a switch, my Norfolk
You know-
budget, my KP budget.
Jeff tried to give my job away once today. I didn't have to try and give it away yet.
No, I tried to give away your office.
Oh, just the office?
Just the
All right.
office.
Oh, I like the office. It's the job.
There you go, Coach.
So we've got draft 4 of the.
Is the same thing as what's on the
All right.
table there, Jack, you think? Oh, no, 418?
No, it's slightly
No,
different.
Okay.
Didn't I give it? Did I?
No, I just grabbed from what was up there, I just thought I thought you put that out.
But you guys all have draft 4.
Yes.
Yep, draft 418.
Gavin, you want draft 4? Once you come, you get presents for coming to a meeting.
They'll change tomorrow.
No, well, it'll be reordered a little bit. So draft 4 of the warrant is not particularly much different than what you've seen before. The first, Articles 1 through 7, I don't think we need to really talk about. Those will be the different budgets and transfers, et cetera. Article A is the capital. I think we've talked about that earlier tonight. We'll vote,
Are you looking for us to number these now?
well, yeah,
I mean, you've got them alphabetical at this point, so you want them numbered?
yes, and yes. I was gonna go through, I'll do whatever you wanna do. I was gonna go through them first and then
Okay.
you can number.
Like I said, they're kind of the same. I mean, it's-
Yeah, there's only a couple that I need to highlight, I think. So anyway, Article A is the capital budget, and we'll have just a couple motions in there. One for, I think just the cash items that we talked about today. Jim's very succinct motion. And then we'll have the water article. I think the rest stay the same. The Article D, you may not have seen in this form. This is part of the new, this is the municipal reform.
Yeah.
And they've made this I'm not sure they've made this one better in the Municipal Reform Act. So now our revolving funds become a general bylaw. If we want to change the limits on these in the future, we need to do a bylaw change, but
That's insane.
it's reform.
That's crazy.
We did change a couple of the limits on those. so it's the first page that goes in the different, it's a table. The snow removal, which is the second one, we increased that limit to, well, actually, the first one is the parking tickets, that was an old $1,000 limit, and those limits are how much you can spend per year out of the revolving fund. It's not the balance, it's how much you can spend in a year.
You can why would you spend any money for parking tickets? What do you mean spend?
So we get money for parking tickets in town.
No, I get that, yeah.
Not very much, and then we spend it on ordering more ticket books, that's all. It's, and we don't, it doesn't happen every year, but every second or third year, we buy about $1,500 worth of parking tickets.
So that includes, something like snow removal, it says from private property to include King Philip Regional School in there, huh?
The junior high, yep. So we, so we bill them for plowing their driveways.
I mean, the school, not the driveways.
Okay.
Driveways at school.
Okay, driveways, I call it parking
I
lot,
don't
okay.
think I knew
Parking
that.
lot.
Yeah, it just
I'm
sounds
sorry,
like
yeah.
driveways, like, how many I get you, the infrastructure, yeah, the plowable space.
Yep. And then the recreation field maintenance one, that used to have a $50,000 limit, but, so that's supported. I know there's a couple former and/or current recreation members here, but that's supported by the fees from all the organizations that use the fields. And those fees go to the recreation revolving fund, and it's to pay for all the fertilizer and the maintenance of the, it's the supplies. It's not the man hours, but it's the supplies at the field. And we've actually, that was a $50,000 limit. We've actually been getting up in the upper 50s, so we needed to increase that limit in order to.
Are you gonna highlight these at time, Jack, which change? I mean, just so people, or you don't want to, I don't know again, or you're gonna read.
That's actually a good idea.
What are you gonna do? Because if
Can you
nothing's
do
changed, I don't want to belabor, because certain people are gonna ask questions.
Yeah, that's a good
You get my
idea.
drift?
Yeah.
And just change, not that I don't want to dwell on the.
Just highlight the change ones.
If nothing's changed, and what there was previous or whatever.
Yeah. The other one we changed was offsite improvements 2104. That had been $91,000 for years. We changed it to $100,000 just to. We actually haven't had a lot of money coming and going out of that account, but that's used for situations like Christina Estates, when they approved that and waived the requirement to have a sidewalk on both sides of the road. Then they took all that money, put it into this offsite improvement account, and then used it to pay for a sidewalk offsite out of that subdivision. So again, it's not more of the. Some of the planning board accounts have disappeared, and those were we used to have revolving funds, but now have the 53G accounts. So that each individual developer puts money into an account that's overseen by the planning board, and then they draw for that for inspections and other purposes. So that's I think that was the change. Some of these accounts aren't really used all that much. The passport account, we went through a real surge of passports when that first started, but that's kind of died out. The abutters list is not really used all that much. They can get a lot of the information online now, but still occasionally. So if we go to page 6, highlighted in yellow there, the Article H. I think I've talked to Scott about it. I've talked to the other two about it. That's the moratorium that we talked about doing. We didn't, I guess we didn't fully comprehend the impact of that. And so what that is a zoning, it's actually a zoning change to the moratorium. By the time we started having discussions with the planning board about that, it got to be very tight with their deadline for advertising and having their public hearing, which they would have to do with the zoning article. So talked to Mr. DeLuca, and he said there's no problem or danger of putting this off until either the fall or even next spring. We tend to do zoning articles in the fall, so I'd recommend that we do it in the fall. But there's no, so I would suggest that we just delete that one unless you want to keep an article on there to have the conversation. That would be the only other.
I don't.
No, that's the commission that the legislature has set up they have until,
June of
Q3
2018.
2018.
Yeah.
I think it might even be beyond June, but it's at least,
I think that's when they have to promulgate the rules.
so I don't see a big issue. And in fact, depending on what precedent may exist in the fall, we could either do as we discussed, or we could consider doing something even beyond, the moratorium.
Yeah.
Potentially, if
Yep.
there's case law at some point, because what we don't want to do is do something and then be in a protracted, legal situation, because some of these folks have deep pockets, and they're just looking for towns to, I think, to challenge.
So are you suggesting take it off or IP it?
I suggest take it off, but, because right now, last time we worked on the warrant, we didn't close the warrant, so the warrant is technically open as we sit here.
Yep.
So you're gonna have to take a vote to close it anyway.
But don't you think, I think it might make sense to leave it on and IP it. I understand the risk that somebody could, stand up and amend it, and
Well, we had this suggestion a couple minutes ago, and you were busy working.
Okay. So what was decided?
Well, I thought to just take it off the town. I don't want to not necessarily have a discussion about it. It's premature, I think.
But wouldn't it make sense potentially, unless we've already had this discussion, that we explain to people why it's not on the warrant? And if it's not there, there's no opportunity to talk about it.
I personally
So,
haven't
but
gotten any
at
comment
least having
positive
it, you
about
can
any
explain,
about
well,
this.
that we're not putting it on for the following reasons. On advice of counsel, XXXX, because there's a lot of interest in that.
I've heard from no one that has any interest in the marijuana, whether it's allowed in town or not allowed in town, personally, but, I don't know how people feel. I'll tell you,
maybe
Is it
I'm
an
wrong.
opportunity to take a straw poll, and just get some sense, at least the folks that are participating in town meeting in terms of,
I don't know if the
whether or not
moderator
they
would.
would support something.
You grinning about it.
I brought it up.
Get
The
this
reason
big
the reason I was picking on you is because I brought up the.
Look, unless we can take, as far as I'm
I was
concerned, unless
busy.
we can get some sense of, the residents and their opinions and have some discussion, I don't know that I would include it at all, but that's me.
Well, the article, the moratorium, the purpose of it, this is around recreational, not medical, about whether or not we would allow the sale of it in town, and every town has the right to say yes or no to that.
Right.
And I think we're all in agreement that the town gets a chance to decide that, one
Right.
way or the other.
Right.
So all I'm saying is that it's been in the papers, it's been in the news. I can't say as I've had 8,000 phone calls on it, but it is something that I know people have views on. By leaving it on, at least, if it's not there, there can be no discussion. Moderator will, by at least leaving it on and IPing it, we can explain why we're not bringing it forward on the advice of counsel, what the purpose is, what we will be bringing forward for the town. Or if you don't think that's important, just let it go, we can let it go, either way.
When we IP something, does it imply that we didn't want it to pass? Not to pass. Sometimes IP is usually a death knell for things that get IP'd, right? In general,
Well-
not in this case, because
Well,
different things came up.
we're doing exactly what it says, we're indefinitely, we're,
Right,
you know,
but that,
postponing.
normally that means it's not gonna,
How about this?
I don't feel strongly one way or the
I don't
other.
either, to be
It's
honest
just a
with you.
conversation.
One of the things we
Apparently I
could
missed
do,
while I was doing something
No,
else.
I just took the easy route, Jim, just take it off. I'm just trying to shorten the time people have to give up.
one of the things we could do is put something together, because there's plenty of information out there at this point, and basically have it as a handout, that people will go in, and
That's a
there'll be
thought.
like an
We could do
additional
that.
document that, they'll take into, and it, can have a little bit of perspective in terms of what happened in terms of the referendum in Massachusetts and what it means.
I'm okay
I'm
with that.
sure there's stuff on the state, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts website that has something we could do
Well, it could be
something
as
like
simple
that.
as just saying that, this is something we intend to address and let the voters speak their will as to.
Yeah, and we can,
It's that
we can
simple.
reference, we can
It's that
say,
simple.
by the way, if you didn't pick up, the handout,
Yep.
there is a handout, which may be helpful. you know, in the fall, in the event that, you know, it's something that
Let's take it
is
off.
brought to town meeting. And just leave it at that, just leave it at that, just make sure people are aware that there's a handout that
I
they.
mean, so you could reference the handout in the committee report, which is
There you go,
Article B.
Perfect.
What committee would that be?
Board of Selectmen.
Marijuana
Yeah.
committee, cannabis, salivas, yeah.
All right, so you entertain a motion, Mr. Chairman?
I would.
I will move to remove article as numbered H from the warrant.
Have a second.
No. Seconded.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded, no further discussion.
Gotcha.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
My only discussion was whether that was numbered or lettered, but that's right. So I think we're ready at the point where Mr. Leahan would like to renumber the,
Oh, I wouldn't want to,
put them in order.
hold you up on it. I mean,
No, I don't think there weren't any more changes, you know.
well, I mean, going through this,
So
I
I
mean,
wanted
if
to
you
highlight
go
changes.
to Article 7 and then you go to the letters, I mean, 8, 9, 10, I'd leave
You've
those.
already put numbers on there?
I did. I would,
That's why,
That's why he missed that.
That's why I
motion.
missed that other
Speedy.
conversation.
Speedy. I gotta check your numbers tonight, though. We better go back.
Well, I haven't gotten them yet. And so, I mean, I would just keep them all the way to, through page 6, because most of those are quick.
yeah, there,
I mean, there's nothing,
no, there was,
no heavy lift there, and even the CPC meet ones are not a heavy lift. The only
I
one,
agree.
I mean, the 86 grand for the irrigation well is really the only one that might bear some conversation. The rest are pretty boilerplate.
Okay.
But then I would bring Article L.
so what does K get us? Do you know, did you number?
Oh, excuse me. Huh?
Never mind, I'll do it myself.
K is 17.
Thank you. And that's.
I agree.
That's with deleting H?
I agree.
And then I would go
Yes,
to,
yes, with deleting H.
then
at
I would, yes, that's with the leading 8. Then I would go
Talking to
to,
Bob McGee.
I would go to
sometimes.
page 11. And I would bring the noise control up.
So, sorry, we stopped, on page 6, we ended 17, Article K is 17?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm making sure you guys know.
Then I would go to page 11, the noise control, and make that Article 18.
Okay, let me make sure I understand your justification. What are you thinking as
Well,
far as?
This is an article that is, any petition article is driven by the petitioners having a specific purpose for bringing it forward, I guess. And that's democracy at its best. They have a right to do so. But this article is being driven by a very specific issue that we're all aware of. And this article, needs to have, we need reasonable attendance in the
Okay,
meeting
so you want to move
to
it
have
up
a fair
for that
hearing of this
reason.
article. So if you leave it to the tail end, you're gonna lose the folks that go home at
Okay with that.
9:30 or 10 o'clock at night, and
No, I'm okay with that,
that's my
respecting,
rationale. I
respecting
would
the
move it up so that it
petition,
has a larger audience.
option here that the residents have available to them.
So you're gonna,
Because this impacts, while it may be driven over a specific issue to the neighbors, it impacts the entire town.
so you wanna put it to 18, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I would move Article Q to number 18,
You okay with that, Mr. Chairman?
solely for the purpose of just having a greater attendance at town meeting, because you know that the place starts to empty up 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Okay,
Okay, that's 18.
yeah.
And then everything else could stay right in order.
Do you want to do all the petitioners back to back to back, or do you care about, or just keep
Well,
them?
well, you could bring the pilot up, the last one
I
on
don't
page
care about that.
13.
It's the most boring one in the world.
I know. And then it's just all the petitioners.
Well, no, you'd
Oh,
have the
well,
town plan, you'd have the town
well,
planner.
I would do the planning board. And then it's petitioners.
So move 18 and then keep everything else in just in the
Yeah,
order.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, nobody's gonna care, well, I shouldn't say nobody's gonna care, but you're right, the pilot one is pretty boring.
So that stays as last?
It's a non-event.
No, I know.
I mean, it's,
I have no problem, I'm just
Yeah.
trying to get, I'm just,
that's my thought. I mean, you guys feel free, move it around,
So I think we have 24.
25.
Here we go again.
No, 24, you're right.
Jack, did Ray, I mean, Bob, Bullock, or Ray, you know, on our.
I had moved pilot up, that's right. I had pilot at 23 and I had Article P at 24.
You know, the Article Q, which is now numbered 18, noise control. Do we have a sense what, I mean, you know, not being a noise control expert, I'm not sure. I mean, our current bylaw, there's no, so it doesn't show, it's gonna replace the bylaw, yeah,
Which one, what do you want?
the noise
Oh,
control.
that's, so,
See.
so the long conversation with, again, Dave DeLuca was two things. One is, you know, one thing that would help us out is to have a expert weigh in on this. I mean, somebody who can talk about frequencies and all that, and whether or not we want to just get a written opinion, whether or not we want to do this or not. I haven't done it yet. You know, obviously I could reach out to the guy that did our noise study for us.
That seems, I don't want to say it seems biased, I like, honestly, ideally we'd have a third, not theirs, not ours, the next best.
It's fine.
I don't know, it just seems to, but go ahead, sorry.
So, well, no, that's all right, that's fine, and that's a good point, I don't disagree with you. The other bigger issue, though, he brought up is, you know, the way this article is written is it's fatal. It's because the article, and we have to take a petitioner's article and present.
As is.
We have-
But Jay was suggest for any of the amendments, because I assume they want to replace some stuff, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
I haven't asked Jay that question, and Jay as moderator gets to, that is within his jurisdiction, whether or not he would determine, and I guess I should do that. Whether or not he would determine if this,
Oh, that too big of a change, whatever they call it, what's that
Yeah.
word, like, you know?
you know, because this is clearly, I think, intended to replace our zoning article. But it doesn't say that, and nor does it say to delete the old.
That's what I mean, so where's it going? That's, I don't even
It doesn't say
understand.
it's a general, it doesn't, you know, it's silent to which bylaw this would be. So that's Dave's point, is that the way this is presented is fatal.
Well, and there's the whole procedural issue, right, in terms of public hearing and all that.
So are you suggesting that Jay
Well,
might
and
might
true,
find
and if it's a
this?
zoning article, it didn't go through and the advisory board asked him about that. They, you know, did you present this to the zoning board?
Did someone come in
to
front of the
planning
advisory board and
They
explain this?
didn't go through
Yes.
any of the boards.
They did. The petitioners came to the advisory board, but they didn't go to any other board.
No, I know what you're saying, because I didn't watch it, I mean, I should be,
Yes.
and what was their? Okay.
They voted to indefinitely postpone it. They questioned them and asked them, you know, why didn't you go through
Right.
kind of the more formal process of making a presentation to the planning board, who
Yeah.
obviously controls the,
If it's a zoning change, like you said, it's silent here, so I don't know what it is, it's just a new,
yeah, you know, so it hasn't gone through a public hearing process with the zoning board, so I think even if somehow it did pass at town meeting, I believe, based on Dave's opinion, that it would, probably the Attorney General would shoot it down because it hasn't gone through the public hearing process that is required for zoning changes.
and does that mean it has to start, or if they so choose to do the process thing and bring it back, it doesn't get, because it passed, say it does pass this time, and even though it then becomes null because it procedurally is not correct, it doesn't get a de facto, like saying that automatic, if they go through the right, procedure, it has to be revoted again. Is that what you-
Yeah, start from scratch.
Okay.
It's nothing gets,
Okay, no, I'm just trying to think, like, it's like, when you file, you got, once you file, no matter if, your grandfather, and all I'm trying to get at is if they pass. But I can see a case where people are fed up with noise, they could get enough people to come to town meeting that, even though it's, recommended IP, they could overturn that.
yeah, and I'm not.
'Cause I don't know exactly what they're saying here, but I don't know what the.
And I get people's concerns about noise. This is, one of the things I talked about with Dave, and it probably would be an interesting conversation to have with Jay too, is, what's his experience with other towns? As town council, he obviously sees a lot of other towns, and noise bylaws aren't, in his experience, highly relied upon, if you will, in suburban towns, suburban or rural towns, in which we would clearly fall into the suburban, because there's too many things going on. There's snowmobiles and
Gun clubs, there's motorcycles.
gun clubs
Gun
and
clubs are
motorcycles.
exempt.
And, what's that?
They're exempt. Gun clubs are exempt.
No, I'm just saying,
Gun
no.
clubs, formal gun clubs are exempt, but if you have 6 acres of land and you're shooting your gun, I'm not sure that you're
I'm not exempt.
exempt, right? You know, and then, and to your point earlier, the run and gun is not a formal gun club, so they would not be exempt. You know, so I am uncomfortable, you know, from a, I guess, a bigger, even bigger level, I'm uncomfortable with trying to make the town the noise police, because it's gonna be very, while I certainly get neighbors' concerns, I find it very difficult for, that's gonna be something we're gonna be able to police and, you know, go try and get the ambient level, which varies by every single location in town and varies at any given time, that we're gonna be able to determine what the ambient level is and then determine if whatever offending noise there is whether or not that's 10 decibels or, you know, whatever the level is above that ambient level. So it's, you know, it's gonna be very costly from a manpower point of view. Right now, our zoning is enforced by the building commissioner. He's a Monday through Thursday, 8 to 6 person. I would suspect a lot of noise issues happen on the weekend. I don't see the practical, I don't see it really becoming, you know, reality. And we've all seen the neighbor issues are the toughest things to resolve, and it's,
This is driven by that. We know that. I mean, this is driven, and I'm not challenging whether they're right or wrong in their issue, but it is driven by a specific issue. Problem is that it impacts the entire community. You know, so in trying to deal with something that is between neighbors, they're creating an issue for the entire community. And this hasn't been vetted by anyone. I mean, you know, I've talked briefly with Bob Bullock about it, and he said this is ill-advised. That's my biggest concern, is when you present something like this that impacts the entire town, and it hasn't been through the zoning, or it hasn't been through any of the committees, any of the boards. And it should be. It needs to be vetted properly. That's my biggest concern. However well-intended. Well, you're gonna get an opinion, right, from council?
yeah, I mean, I can give you
You're gonna bring on tech speakers, you referenced Jay, Jim's out of town for the organization, I can be there, I mean, do we have anything, you know, is this something we wanna talk to Jay, remember, like, you going, it's
Yeah, I
10
can
o'clock,
ask-
Jeff, you know,
I can ask
Jeff,
him ahead of
the
time.
moderators, I can definitely go, cause I'm across the street, I don't know about you.
You talking about the
Moderators meeting?
Yeah, I plan on being there.
Okay.
I cannot be.
Yeah, I saw your email, Jeff, of course.
Would you guys, just while we're thinking of that, would you remind the moderator that we do have in the beginning a presentation
Yep.
for an individual for our thank you?
Oh, is that we do, I don't know if we did that in the fall or spring, okay,
No.
we do it both?
Yeah.
So it's on the 26th at 10 o'clock.
I didn't know if they could bring that up with Jay then, or he hasn't seen the warrant yet, has he? I mean, or maybe he has, but.
So in terms of,
Jay has, yes, he's seen a draft, he hasn't seen this last version.
But the Article Q hasn't changed anyway, so.
Correct.
so in terms of the petitioners who are gonna speak, is that known before town meeting? Is that all part of Jay's planning meeting in terms of knowing who's gonna speak on behalf of the petitioner? And
They don't
Yeah,
have, honestly, I've seen them, they don't have to show up, remember, because Jay, we've had a petition with last time, Jay said, would the petition like to speak on it, so if they don't come to Jay's meeting, they can still come down to the floor, remember when that article's brought up? I've seen that, because we had that just last, I think it
He
was
did
last
that
time.
last time. Yeah.
Where they didn't
Right.
come, because they might work, right, they may not be able to be here at 10 o'clock, you know, I don't think, Jay's good about that, I don't think he stops them, you know?
But at town meeting?
Yeah, town meeting, yeah.
At town meeting?
Yeah.
You know, in terms of knowing who's gonna speak on behalf of the.
We might not, he doesn't have to know it.
I don't think he invites him to the, it's not in the bylaw that he has to invite the petitioners to the organizational meeting. I think he just makes the assumption that
There'll be somebody there to speak to it, yeah, okay.
I mean, it's their own.
Yeah, they haven't come up that often, so
No,
that's why.
no, right, we had, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's what happened with, I think, when Peter Diamond.
Yeah, he spoke on it, and then, yeah,
He came up and spoke.
I'm sure
at that
Mr.
time.
Rosenberg will speak on his, and you know, these folks speak on theirs.
Okay.
So that's, so I think we agree on the numbering scheme. We agree there's
You guys okay with
24
that?
articles, and we just
We can
adjust
call
it.
Jonathan and ask him if it's all right.
Yeah.
Joe's never gonna die.
It's That's all right. There you
So no,
go.
it's an old
Yeah,
story.
I understand.
Jonathan had a passion for numbering the warrant.
There's an ebb and flow to a town meeting, and you have to get it right.
Well, maybe he's right. I don't know. Yeah, I just.
Well, there is an ebb and flow to
Well,
town. Yeah, no, it's a true statement.
Yep, yep.
So we need a motion to close the warrant? Mr. Hathaway, I know you're busy, but is that what we need to do next?
I'm asking a question.
Oh.
Yeah, we do need a motion to close the article.
Okay, so we already removed H, so it's just a matter of closing the warrant. Do I have a
So
motion?
move, yeah, so move to close the warrant.
Second.
Better write that down.
That's pretty, yeah, that's
Can't
hard.
wait to see the minutes of this meeting.
My minutes are much shorter than Marion's.
Okay, any further discussion on the 24 articles which will make up the spring warrant? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Did you guys take a formal vote to take out H?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes, we did.
Who moved? Jim?
I did.
Jim,
I made the
seconded.
motion.
Thank you.
Mr. Bugby seconded.
It was unanimous.
The only other thing I had was the inspirational road safety committee met today, of which Mr. Bugby is the
The inspiration.
The chair.
The perspiration.
That's right.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Yeah, don't smile. You have to, I could turn on my chair. I see you have an anxious look about you. It really lends itself to a planning background, I think, anyways. You know, now I think about it. Trying to decide where
That
a
was a long
sidewalk goes.
time ago, that floating.
Oh, it's just so far back, I
Yeah.
know.
Trying to think you have a better idea where a sidewalk might fit in appropriately than I do. You can always bequeath it to you.
So I think
Was there more to the story?
there is more to the story. I know you guys were having fun reminiscing, but I think after town meeting, the committee will bring forward some items for you to consider, but just as a preview, we've had some requests to address speed issues down by the Mirror Lake Beach, so Mirror Lake Ave. So what we were kind of coming up with and again, this is me, Scott, Bob McGee, and Chief Stone. We actually think some speed bumps on Mirror Lake Ave by the beach area there would be helpful.
So let me make sure I understand. These bumps or humps?
I think there'd be humps. Humps are better.
I thought we talked removable potentially, though, too. no?
Yeah, I
You
think
guys gotta be more careful with your language.
I know.
here.
Always
I
will
stand
be
corrected.
on.
We talked about some other areas in town, although I don't think we're ready to take any action on any other items. We did have some discussion. Not sure we came to a conclusion on Old Campbell.
No.
Bob was going to do some research because there was some debate about whether or not Old Campbell is a private road or a public road, and Bob was under the impression that it's a private road, so we wouldn't technically be able to do anything to Old Campbell.
You can barely get one car down there.
Well, and
We'll
yeah,
have
so we
issues.
had a request. I think I shared it with you.
Private road?
Well,
It's a cut through, really.
yeah.
according
That's
to-
the problem, too, Jim, because
Yeah.
you cut through to and from the work, so the concern, you know,
It's
'cause
really just a
smaller.
cut through.
So yeah, we received a letter, and I think I shared it with you 6 months ago or so about from a
Yeah, I
resident
remember that.
who lives on that road that had concerns about the traffic speeding through there. So, but then after I brought it up at a selectmen's meeting, I actually got some feedback from other residents and the state who has the
Waste treatment plant.
waste treatment plant there, and they don't want to. In their letter, the residents were requesting that it become a one-way road. There was immediate pushback from other residents and from the state saying that would be very difficult because, especially for the state, because they've got trucks that have to get into that, and the trucks have to. The way that their driveway's angled
Yes.
is they have
Yeah.
to.
They have to come from one side.
They have to come from Seekonk, yeah, they have to go towards Seekonk, so they have to go both ways. So, and then some residents kind of brought up that issue as well.
What, could you, there's a road in Needham.
Oh, yeah, off of
Central.
Central.
That is almost identical to this road.
Yeah,
And
you
you know the one I'm talking
can't
about?
take a right on it between
Yeah,
like
you
4
can't
and
go
6
between
PM or
4 and
something.
7 and things
Yeah.
of that nature. So
Could do
it's an
that.
attempt to cut down the flow during heavy traffic hours.
Yeah. We could do
Could do
that.
something like that.
I've seen this before, yeah, I've seen there's other places too, like around schools like that, no one, where there's a school
Dover
in
has
Medway
one.
too, the same thing, you
Yeah.
can't go down between, whatever the school drop-off is and
Yeah,
pickup
this,
time.
this road is almost identical. The one I'm thinking, it's about the same distance, it's the same width, I mean, everything is almost identical to that. And it's a cut-through to avoid the light going onto Central Avenue in Needham, which we've all used for a long time. And now, and you can't turn on it now during certain hours of the day. It's to prevent the high
Yeah, I
traffic.
get it.
flow.
No,
4 to
and-
7, I think, is the
I
restriction.
think Chief Stone mentioned that, he said, you know, and a resident
That
too
would
said,
help.
it's definitely a commuter cut-through, going to
But it
Walpole train
wouldn't, it wouldn't
station.
impact, it's, you know, you're not impacting the right of way for the trucks or anything like that, but it would cut down on the flow.
Yeah.
Something like that might help.
I didn't think of that, yeah.
Yeah, and we talked about speed humps as well.
We just love to put humps everywhere. Bob, by the way, is
I
not in
mean,
favor of those, so.
Just trying to push people over to Campbell.
Yeah, Campbell, yeah, so it's not like there's a
Not really
huge
that big
detour,
deal,
but,
so.
yeah.
We'll continue to look at that one. But, you know, then we also talked about and we don't have to get into it, but we talked about the three big intersections, you know, Boardman and Rockwood, Main Street down by the cemetery, and then the Stony Brook, which we talked about earlier tonight. Just, you know, I think the Road Safety Committee would like to try and improve on those intersections, and while we don't have immediate solutions, I think actually the Stony Brook intersection, I think Bob hopefully will be able to improve that a little bit with this work you approved tonight. The cemetery intersection still needs to be, you know, that's one of our
Yeah.
worst intersections.
We tried fixing it a couple of times, and
He brought up
Site's better.
Needham Street, so yeah, so people are coming in, they're not coming up from a hill. So he did make it better, but, you know, we could look at, that house that's right on the corner is for sale, and, you know, we could look at buying that and tearing it down.
It's hard to see that.
Historical
doesn't it?
building, and,
Yeah. Is it, doesn't it have a plaque on it? Is it, I don't know if it's listed as if it's officially historic or not, it might not be able to be demolished.
I mean, that's where we created that's where the historic district is, right? And that was one of the places that was highlighted, so it's,
I don't see how you could tear it down.
but
Again,
it's in the way.
stoplight is the other, you know, I know we're still a one stoplight town, but, that's it, you know, that intersection and Boardman and Rockwood is the other intersection where.
But Chief Stone had a good idea, those flashing, because you said people just don't think there's a stop, you know, for locals. Because I said, I had no problems at that intersection, but Chief Stone mentioned there's those strobe or flashing things that kind of catch your attention that you come into a stop sign, is that right? You know, but I mean, in a short gap measure before we can ever get a stoplight there, because as Bob said, it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars to put a stoplight in, right?
It is a couple $100,000 if you're gonna do the swing arms and the turning lanes.
Oh, yeah, that's right, we
and
need left and right turning lanes, that's what, yeah, so whatever the chief mentioned, that thing, it kind of alerts you, right? Because you said, you know, people just don't know it's.
all. On Village Street and Medway, right, they've got those flashing stoplights.
Yeah, oh, yeah, I just mean, yeah,
Stop
yeah,
signs.
yeah. It does help, it does catch your attention, you know, it's a four-way stop,
There's other solutions as well, so. Just,
One other item for you. Something that I think eventually we're gonna have to look at is parking at the Gums Farm Playground.
yeah. Frank met with the
I know he did.
DPW today. Yeah, I walked in on the end of that conversation. He said he'd talk to you, but.
He did. He's right. I mean, he got a little ahead of himself, but he's done a phenomenal job on that garden. I mean, he's just, he's impassioned over it,
He
and
certainly
it wouldn't
is.
happen without him. So many thanks, Frank, if you're watching, because it would not have happened without his great efforts.
All the garden spots are sold out now, and I have one, so I'm
Me too, I'll be over
willing
there.
to auction one off for
I have
$30
mine, too.
now if you're interested.
I want a guard next to
Oh,
it,
wait,
Jack. No,
$60. I
It's
gotta make
50.
money.
It's 50.
Obviously, your wife is gonna use it.
No, no, neither of us have a green thumb, so. All serious, if anyone wants one, I'm willing to donate mine to somebody who.
But it
would
might not
actually
be a
grow
bad
something.
idea if Bob just took a look at that as to what might be viable.
Well, they did today. I didn't hear, they were gonna
Okay.
present it back to because Frank was very clear that, he wanted the solution to come back to the Board of Selectmen, so I
What is it, what do you mean you say parking, because there's not enough parking? or
Well,
what?
I mean, the place is packed.
Yeah, oh, yeah, no.
And so now if you're talking about folks going back to the garden, there's no place for them to park.
So I think they're gonna park on Medway Branch and then cut through those people's houses in the
Oh,
back.
yeah, right
Yeah,
to my,
but
I'm
there's a
sure
nice-
Jim will make it a right away.
I like that idea.
I'm sure.
We were thinking about that.
Yeah, it would be right away,
that
no,
one,
yeah, like a bridge, maybe a bridge over the wetlands too.
But his point was that there is a path that goes back on the far right, but and he was thinking, well, we'll just bring cars back, but it's not that simple, because you've got little kids, that's a young playground, and they don't always stay where you want them to stay.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, 3-year-olds wander, and you can't have, some of those garden spots are senior citizens, and you have to be, you've got to think about that you can't have cars going back beyond the parking lot, along the back by that field on the
Yeah.
right to go back towards the garden,
But now,
without somehow insulating them from the kids,
Right.
making sure that the kids, that you just, I mean, God forbid anything
I
like
mean, the
that.
playground is this area where the kids are
So
supposed
it's
to
not,
play.
it's not as
fenced in.
simplistic, well, let's just put a little dirt road through there and let people that are gardening drive back there. That's not a good answer.
Oh, but that's what he put in there, but that's already out there. I didn't know that was ever.
Well,
did.
they were talking about just doing that, and so.
But I mean, the brochure, when I signed up, I mean, the whole kit he gave you, sign up says you can drive your materials right to the garden.
And he shouldn't have done that.
Okay, so but people now, again, as hopefully they're all watching, I was under the impression I could
Yeah,
drive.
he should not, there is no,
It's
that-
it doesn't
that's
look,
not
I
a
walked
road.
it the other day, it doesn't look wide
Yeah.
enough for my car. It's a little dirt pad, it doesn't look wide enough. Yeah, that was one of his big selling points. You can drive, if you have a 100-pound sack of
Right.
fertilizer, you just drive your car back there.
Absolutely, it's well-intended.
Yeah.
It's a well-intended thought. No one's arguing that. It's just that it's not as simplistic as just saying, go do it.
So
Which he was ahead of him, Frank was ahead of himself on
I mean,
that.
'cause they
With
open-
all well-intended.
I mean, it opened up as a 15, so I guess my question then is it illegal to drive back there? I would just want people not to.
Technically, right now, they're not supposed to drive back there.
No, okay. No one knows that. I mean, if you got his material, unless you're watching us
Yeah.
tonight, you don't know that. I don't know how many people have rushed back there, because the season opened April 15th.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know if anyone's driving back
I
there
know.
now.
But we just asked Frank if he would talk to Bob McGee and figure out
We
how
can email
how
the
we do
gardeners,
this the
too.
right way, so that we don't,
Okay.
I agree
biggest
with you. I mean,
concern I had was a
a child, a senior, anyone,
Because
just
that's,
anything.
that's all open. It's all open space, and right now, it's kind of walled off from the parking lot. But you get back in where those tables are, and folks chatting and
Yeah,
enjoying
sure,
the day, and the kids are running around, and you don't watch them
Right.
60 seconds out of every minute. And if one of those kids wandered down that hall and somebody was driving a car back there, an accident we don't want.
Yep. Yep.
That's all. I know,
No.
I know.
Oh, no, it's out there. No, again, I don't have an answer. I don't know what Bob would do.
I don't have an
Like they
answer
say,
either,
I don't
but
know, other than saying you can't drive back there.
Something we ought to be able to figure out, just to make sure that we don't endanger those kids.
Well, Jack, is that something we're going to sooner or later again? I don't mean
I
to
don't,
beat
I
a
didn't
dead
hear what the
horse.
result was. I know Frank met with the DPW today, so
I mean, because the
think
season
they
did
have a
open after the
solution.
15th, so technically, I haven't seen anyone down. I haven't been down there.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people are driving down there, or no one, anyone.
You have a plot, don't
I
you?
do have a plot. I drove there, and I was looking like that.
So you
I
could
saw
be-
that.
You could be our eyes in the sky.
Well, I saw that dirt path.
You were
because
Mr.
We
Hathaway.
can drive, but it doesn't look like it could fit a vehicle.
You
It doesn't
could
look like-
direct. You could direct traffic.
Yeah, I'll
It's
just
just
sit
a
there the
short
whole
walk.
time. Yeah,
from
I was
your
getting my
house.
day job, just stay out there all day, night and day. I didn't think it barely could fit a car. I don't know. Frank's idea was neat, but one I could carry whatever I need to carry to there. But I didn't think it could really fit a car. But he made it sound. That was the big, neat little package piece. It was like, oh, you drive up to your, you drive up to your bed, you drop off your supplies.
Great idea.
Yeah.
It's a great idea. I just
so.
got to figure out the right way to do it, that's all.
That's not me staying there. Like it's just wants to get sun up to sundown, like a good farmer boy. Sun up, sundown. I'm there watching the plots. Yeah.
Come on, man, I'm just gonna pack up.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. We got minutes to approve.
Just make sure he doesn't drive down there.
He's got smaller cars than I do. You can take. He sold small.
You want the over-under, whether he ever uses that plot?
I got to use mine because I did it without telling anyone. So
I think I might just go down and plant tomatoes.
Mr.
and-
Chairman?
Well, any further business this evening?
what about the acceptance of minutes? You want to do that or?
Whatever's on there. I actually?
I shouldn't bring this up.
Okay.
I shouldn't bring, but I can bring it up in the context of
Do you want to do the acceptance?
town meeting. So, as far as Old Town Hall, we'll pick that up in the fall. Is that the plan, to see what,
Oh, Bob, you asked me last meeting. We asked Bob to give you an estimate.
Matt hasn't gotten a formal quote from anybody yet, but both Bob and he
Give us a
thought
quote.
he could be done for about $15,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Seems like.
we could put that on there. I was hoping to have a formal quote to give to you before we,
But we could put it on and say not to.
Sorry.
yeah, we could, if you want.
We got to do something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'd love to.
With you, we got to do something about that. We've talked about it for years.
Jack's next step, when he did decide, was get an estimate of what to take it down, because you threw out a number about 10 to 15, so obviously it's kind of close. And then Matt did something with storage anyways, right? So you're not worried, concerned about the storage of the files or whatever, right? Because you have a storage bin now.
Yeah, he's
Ban
gotten
or whatever.
there's a bin, I still haven't seen it, but there's
Most of
a,
it's out.
Yeah, except for the safe.
Except for the
Jim's gonna take, or we're gonna auction off. Whoever can physically get out there can have it.
Nobody can move it.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Are we gonna have like a TV
Yeah,
type
open
of
like the
show
Al
with
Capone
the
safe,
Al
yeah.
Capone safe?
What's that,
Right?
The Titanic, when he opened the
Yeah.
safe and there
Al
was
Capone
nothing
It
in
was
there.
Al Capone.
Yeah, Geraldo, right?
Yeah, that was a big flop.
You could be Geraldo. Yeah. All right, enough of that. Okay.
So in terms of the spring
you wanna try and,
town meeting,
we can still sneak that on to the Springtown meeting if you want, in the,
If we opened the warrant, we closed it.
we could either do it in the transfers,
Do it in the
transfer money
transfers.
to free cash.
Do it in the transfers.
Yeah.
You guys okay with that?
Yeah.
Do it in the
If
transfers.
it's only that much money. It's-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cole is very excited to do a.
Oh, burn, yeah, it's
burn
good,
it.
yeah. No, it's good training, right? I mean, I know it's but it's good training.
Yeah,
They don't have to commute very far. They can
do
actually run the
some-
hoses across the street,
you know,
literally.
their high-risk training where they, somebody gets
Might actually get to use the ladder truck.
trapped and all that stuff.
The
They might
second
have to
floor.
use a ladder truck. Hopefully it'll start.
That'd be fun. I like watching this.
do you need a motion on that, or?
No, transfers, we will present to the advisory board
Then
6
they don't.
o'clock that night.
Okay, okay.
I think Todd's got a pretty good idea. Todd thinks he's gonna be able to close the stone ice deficit with, transferring from existing budgets, so not from free cash. although
What is the deficit? Do you know
About
that?
200,000.
A lot better than the 400 and some odd we had a couple of years ago.
Yeah. This year was almost a repeat. We did great until the end of January. And
I
then
know, I was gonna say, yeah, we were doing well.
Well, let's hope we're over the hump.
I don't think we're gonna have any more, but
It snowed in May.
remember I had a double-A baseball game, snowed out on May 10th or something like that.
Please don't say that.
So our next
I just let 'em
gathering
know.
is on election night.
Should be an exciting night.
So key dates, I guess, for the
do the
community,
minutes? We don't
election day,
May 2nd?
Tuesday, May 2nd. And we have our first night, and hopefully our only night, for our spring town meeting on Tuesday, the 9th, beginning, the formal meeting begins at 7 PM, correct? We'll convene prior to, we'll be posted to meet with the advisory committee prior to town meeting. But once again, town meeting, Tuesday, May the 9th at the King Philip Middle School, 7 PM. So, I guess with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chairman, you had a very nice year as chair. Congratulations.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate all the support.
Do we
Except
wanna-
for tonight.
Do we have to or not? I don't know how the
No, just
You wanna
approve
vote
those
this?
minutes.
We look forward to Mr. Bugby being your successor.
hopefully, if we accept the minutes first. I can't get over not accepting the minute. We want to finish that. You want to accept
Sure.
the minutes or no? I don't know how that happens if we don't.
Yep, I have reviewed them.
Okay.
I move to accept the minutes of January 10th, 2017, the regular session, January 24th, 2017, regular session, February 21st, 2017, regular session, March 7th, 2017, regular and executive session, March 21st, 2017, regular session, and April 4th, 2017, regular session.
Second.
So just a point of discussion here, is this your last official action in the capacity of clerk?
Of clerk?
Okay.
Unfortunately, I guess, yeah.
Well, thank you for all your work here the
You're
past year.
We just
Much
rotate
appreciated.
seats.
That's all we do. So, motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Do you want to just remind people of when candidates night is?
Oh, yeah. April 24th. 25th.
Tuesday night?
Tuesday night?
25th,
7 PM at
middle school.
middle school? Okay. Thank you. Please come see our candidates.
Motion has been
Motion.
made, but you better make it again.
I'd move to adjourn.
Second.
Further discussion? Jack, you all set?
All set.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This meeting of the Norfolk Board of Selectmen has been adjourned. Thank you for joining us this evening. Good night, folks.
Thanks for having us.